Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'll call the Audit and Control Committee meeting to order for April 16th. I'd like to welcome everyone here this morning. If everyone, as a member of the committee, has had an opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting, I'd entertain a motion to.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are carried. Next is privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the committee today? If so, please come down front. Not seeing anyone this morning, we'll move into our item agendas. Number one is renew and amend resolution 1326. It's to authorize a supplemental agreement number 1 with New York State DOT for PIN 5764 period 60.
Good morning. Drew Rogers, Deputy Director of Public Facilities Engineering. The DPF has a federal aid project that is administered through New York State DOT for the replacement of County Bridge 830 on Courtright Road in Niobe in the town of Harmony. The project is funded 80% federal, 15% state, and 5% local. The original resolution number 13-26 that was adopted at the January 28 meeting authorized amending the agreement with New York State DOT to move the project forward to the construction phase. Prior to that final execution of that agreement with DOT, excuse me, the bids for the project were received and the low bid exceeded the anticipated construction phase estimate. So New York State DOT was able to add some funding to the project to cover those additional costs. So they added $400,000 in funding to the project with the same 80% federal, 15% state, and 5% local shares. So this renew and amend proposes to adjust those contract amounts based on the additional contract costs. So the overall funding, including all phases of the project, which includes the preliminary design, final design, construction, and construction inspection, will change from $2 million to $2.4 million. And the federal share of $1,336,000 will increase to $1,656,000, and the $250,500 state share will increase to $310,500, and the $83,500 local share from the reserve fund will increase $20,000 to $103,500.
Mr. Chairman, questions?
Yep, go ahead, Fred.
Two. So this is a 20% miss on the estimate, right? 400,000 on 2 million.
Roughly, yeah.
All right. So did we, well, let me back up. Who were the bidders?
We had three bidders.
And was it not an option to say, hey, guys, you just not what I want? I want to go try some other bidders?
We could try rebidding. The low bid was a good bid in comparison. Obviously, it was quite a bit lower than the other ones.
These bidders all in county and state and?
Yeah, they're all local.
So if
They've bid on our projects typically. Yeah.
Okay. Would it be worth going across to Pennsylvania and asking some of those guys?
It was an open bid advertised for a minimum, I think, of 4 weeks. The pricing, it was all analyzed. The pricing wasn't out of range from industry pricing at this time. Part of the issue that you can run into from time to time with these projects is you put the estimate forward at project conception and do your best to have it projected out over the years. These projects take so long in development, putting putting the environmental studies together and going through the regulatory process. Sometimes the pricing,
So when did
Just changes.
when did we make the 2 million estimate?
this project probably started 2022, 2023-ish, when, I mean, that's when it started. It was conceived, you know,
Alright.
a year or two prior to
Who
that.
makes that guess on the final, like the cost? Who sets that 2 million initially?
We initially set the project cost when we first seek the funding. And then as it progresses, the consultant, once they're into the design, kind of refines that. You know, there weren't any red flags that popped up during the design that would say it's that much, you know, we needed that much more.
Right. So, but of course, you know that these things take a couple, 3 years from woe to go.
Yeah,
And you know inflation's running 3 to 5%, so you probably had, 10 to 12% inflation cooked into that $2 million number anyway,
mhm.
I hope.
Yeah, I mean, try to be
So,
very
well,
conservative.
I won't belabor that because, I mean, it's not our job to tell you how to do detailed things. At a much, much smaller scale, my limited experience is people bidding things out of Erie County, Pennsylvania tend to be cheaper than people bidding things out of Chautauqua County. Much as I like to help Chautauqua County people, I think the way to help them is with tough love and exposing them to competition, as opposed to just taking higher bids than we have to, if that's an option. Anyway, that's that. The other one is this, so what it was, fourth paragraph. In the event the amount required to pay the full federal and non-federal shares of the cost exceeds, then the county of Chautauqua shall convene the legislature as soon as possible to appropriate said excess amounts. So right in this paragraph, sounds to me like you're committing us potentially to the whole 400,000.
Yes.
Because this is speculation.
Yeah, that's typical of
I-
these projects.
Can I suggest an amendment, Mr. Chairman, that where it says the legislature as soon as possible to appropriate that change to the legislature as soon as possible will consider the appropriation of said excess amount. So we're not rubber stamped on this right here.
Not gonna step in and tell you what to do either. This is state language. This comes with the agreement as part of the contract. So if we
So-
do want to amend it, which is your decision, I just have to verify that will be okay with the agreement.
Well, I mean, well, yeah, if it turns out it is, then we're not looking at a $103,000 commitment, we're looking at $503,000, no, sorry, $400,000 commitment, and we ought to say so. So, that's what I would move, is let's change the wording. If the state balks, then let's change the number.
Which paragraph were you reading that from?
So it's the first fat paragraph, if you like. Resolve that in the event of not required to pay the full federal and non-federal shares of the cost of the project exceeds the amount appropriated above, then we're committing to get together here and haul off and appropriate something. And I'm willing to consider appropriating it, but we'll see when and if it happens.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember a year or two ago questioning the same thing, and Drew explained it, that it was in the contract, the agreement with the state. I mean, it says we will discuss appropriating it, but I don't think it's an automatic.
But that's what I'm trying to make sure, that it isn't automatic.
Well, if it's automatic, then it doesn't need to be in there, because,
Yeah, but then the number needs to be bigger.
yeah, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, Fred. I think if this is the way the agreement, the contract is put with the state, we've had situations before where someone wanted to change the wording, but it was to no avail because that's the wording and that's the deal with the state, if that makes sense. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I might?
Sure.
This renew and amend resolution is before the committee for discussion only. Any action on this renew and amend has to happen by the full legislature. So I think since Legislator Johnson has raised a suggestion that Drew is unable to commit to, and he said he would need to review that with the funding agencies, I suggest that your committee should ask him to bring the answer to the question that Legislator Johnson has raised to the legislature meeting, or by the legislature meeting.
Perfect.
Yes, agreed. In this discussion of this, it is a renew and amend, as the chairman pointed out. So it's, up for discussion. It's a good point, Fred, and it's something that, it does put the county government in the hot seat if, the appropriate, if the project goes over those appropriated amounts. It simply says that we have to, cough up the extras, and I guess the point being, because we're the ones doing all the work and coming up with those values, and is a little alarming because we've already missed it by 400,000 initially. What's to say that, that something else happens and now all of a sudden it's $2,498,000. We have to come up with $98,000. Yeah, these things happen, so it's a good question. Now, if this has happened in the past, which I'm sure it has the state and federal government come up with their extra percentage distribution, or has this county had to pay the whole amount?
I want to chime in a little bit here. This is standard language for all of these bridge projects that are funded this way, and it's because they're on a reimbursement basis. So they're not going to commit to the funding until we're saying, yeah, we want to move forward with this project. We're appropriating the funds. We're going to spend the funds, seek the reimbursement, and so that's why, like, they want to know we're committed to this project. But yes, I can't recall any time where, yes, if the project budget, which you've approved many resolutions to amend bridge and road projects such as this in the past, it would require us to amend this budget. We would increase our share, the state share, the federal share, in the same proportions. So it is fairly standard. This is standard. I just want trying to reassure you this is the standard language, and those are the mechanics of the process.
And I understand that,
Yeah.
but just in terms of financial clarity, if the two paragraphs above it says it's anticipated that New York State will provide the reimbursement, so it's not guaranteed. So I just think financially that when
It's kind of a chicken and egg thing, because, we have to.
No, it isn't. It is, this resolution should reflect the worst case cost of this to the county. And if it comes in better, then fine, but this resolution needs to reflect what we're on the hook for based on what we control.
Yes,
As opposed
what we
to someone
control
controllable.
is deciding not to do the project if we're not willing to fund the additional amount in the
Well, it's-
future.
No, I'm willing to fund it, but we need to say so here, not at some subsequent date when the project's half paid for. I mean, this ball is now gonna get rolling.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just, my main point was, this is standard language.
Sure.
We have
I got you, absolutely.
many resolutions historically just like this one for road and bridge projects.
And I guess I wasn't paying attention when one of those came through before.
So I'm
Right.
just trying to provide a little bit of reassurance that it's
Sure.
not abnormal.
But anyway, Chairman Shagnon's suggestion, I think, is perfect.
No, I agree. I think, yes, we have seen quite a few of these in the past, and it's been questioned in the past before. It is something that can be asked again. Doesn't mean that if the state has a standard form that we have to agree with it as well. So, you know, we can have those questions and have that conversation. They may say, well, that's the way it is, or, yeah, we are
Yeah.
willing to adjust that, so.
Yeah, it's kind of a contingent on having the project, I
Yeah.
believe, is having
Yeah.
that language, but I can always ask the question.
I mean, it's, as I said, I just want to be, if this launches the project, and we get halfway down it, and the state goes on, no, budget's tight, we're not doing this, I want to look that bird in the eye now, not then.
Well, we
Mr.
give you a
Chairman, to
little
answer your question, like, if we've gone over before, typically additional funding is available.
Mm-hmm.
The contract also has additional funds built into it for contingencies if there are issues change orders that arise during construction.
Right.
sure. Okay.
And change orders typically happen, so.
Yeah.
Yep. Things fluctuate, so,
Right.
or arise. Any other questions or comments before we move on to the next item? Not hearing any, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to proposed resolution, first one on the agenda, number 2, amend 2025 budget for year-end reconciliations, North Chautauqua County Water District.
Good morning, Chad Marks, Deputy Director of Finance.
Allison Vento, Administrative Director for North Chautauqua Water and Sewer Districts.
All right, so what we have here in front of you today, just an additional reconciliation for year-end budgeting. There were some additional expenses that were discovered after the resolution was passed last month that we're including just to add on to reconcile the 2025 budget. There was definitely additional revenues in place to offset the overage, however, so that's kind of what we're looking at.
Just a quick question, 60,560 is what percent of the applicable budget?
Do you know that?
I don't.
Don't have that answer for you, we can get that for you, as far as what the
Big number,
exact
small number?
smallish number.
Yeah.
That, it just,
We'll get you. the
every time we do this kind of resolution, let's have some context, please.
Will do. Noted.
You know, 60,000 could be small if it's a $10 million budget, or if
Correct.
it's a $100,000 budget, it's like, well, what did we miss, right? So that, yeah, good question, and same with the income, you know, we had some extra revenue, which is great, we were able to cover it at least, but, yeah. Other questions, comments? Not hearing any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution is authorize amendment to the agreement between the North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District and the Town of Chautauqua for Sewage Treatment Services, 192803.
Good morning, Matt Olbeck, Director, North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District. This resolution is to extend the contract out to 2059 with the town of Chautauqua. The reason for that is they are wrapping up their extension project, and they are gonna move forward with long-term financing with EFC. And EFC requires them to have a contract in place for that 30 years. That's basically,
I'm sorry,
Questions?
did I mishear? I thought I heard you say 2059, but this says 2039.
2039
Okay.
is what it
Farther
is
down,
now.
okay.
It's
I see,
going
I'm
up.
sorry.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Not hearing any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution, home rule legislation request to discontinue the use of reforestation lands in the town of Ellery and Ripley, and the designation of lands for parks use in the town of Arkwright.
Good morning. Jamie Reynolds, Department of Public Facilities, Engineering and Parks. The resolution before you this morning is to request discontinued home rule legislation for the discontinuance of reforestation lands. We would like to discontinue use of 3 parcels of land that are currently designated as reforestation land. I'll go over them briefly. I did hand out some maps. We have several large tracts of reforestation land on Irish Road in the town of Ripley. And over time, a very long time, 2 driveways have come into use that are on the reforestation land and they're private use. And we would like to sell to the property owners small parcels of land around the driveways so that they now own their own driveways. The third parcel is a 40-acre parcel of reforestation land in the town of Ellery, commonly known as Reforestation Tract Number 12. In accordance with State County Law 219, in order to discontinue use of reforestation lands or parkland in the state, we have to replace in kind or see if the state of New York would accept the lands. So our goal here is to replace in kind. We also, the replacement will be 41 acres that we purchased a couple years ago in Arkwright. So we will be taking the 40 acres in Ellery and the 2 small parcels in Ripley, which will total about 3/4 of an acre. And we will be taking them out of reforestation use, and in replacement, we will be entering in the 41 acres in Arkwright into parkland use. The 41 acres in Arkwright is immediately adjacent to existing parklands that we already have. So in the end, we will end up with a small net gain of parkland from what we already have. Is there any questions?
Questions?
Yeah. How much do you think we could get, the county might get for the sale of this land?
I don't know. I think it's going to be in our best interest. I did say on Monday that I didn't see that this would be any cost to the county, that we would, the closing costs and all that would be paid by the property owners. We have discussed this with the property owners. Everybody is great. They would like to own their driveways. I think though it's in our best interest to get an appraisal done so that we could get fair market, the best fair market value of it. So I think it depends on what that appraisal comes back at.
The reforestation property number 12, is there a right-of-way that is a historical right-of-way, or is there a potential for a right-of-way, or?
So that property has been in the ownership of the county since the 1870s. It was very close to the lands that were held by the original county farm or county home, poor farm, if you want to call it that. Based on my research, it unfortunately never touched that tract. It missed it by 125 feet. So there was a gap of private land that you would always have to cross over to get to this property. I've been surveying in Chautauqua and Cattaraugus County for 30 years. I've done extensive deed and title research on this land and the adjoining lands. In my professional opinion, this land is landlocked. There is no right-of-way to it. And as such, the timber on it is largely evergreen and some hardwoods. The hardwoods are ash. We all know what's happened to the ash. There's some cherry on there. The cherry, Soil and Water was on this property a few years ago as part of a timber sale they were working with an adjoining property owner on. They said the cherry is all very overmature, the pines are overmature, and there's no real understory there. So there's not a huge future income opportunity for the county on that. So, and that's all largely due to lack of access. We just haven't been able to get there.
That property is being sold how?
We haven't worked out the details of that. There's 3 adjoining property owners there, and they all have reached out. They all have an interest in purchasing the property. So I think, again, there we would do an appraisal and then come up with, a fair method of sale, and then, they would pay all the associated fees.
And there's no potential to gain access to it.
The shortest route of access is off the county road, Springbrook Road, and it's still 1,700 feet. There's no existing access route there now, and there's several drainage ways you'd have to cross, so, I mean, you'd have to put in culverts or a bridge, and that, it's not feasible for the value of the timber that's there. And the property does sit all by itself now because the county farm has been sold off.
So the 41 acres that we purchased 2 years ago in Arkwright, is that cost going to be covered by the sale of these 40 acres, more or less?
That's already been paid for.
I know.
It depends on what the appraisals come back at, if it would be a fairly equal exchange in value.
Because I take it the one in Arkwright does have road access.
It has a road access because we own adjoining lands with, road
Right,
access.
so it adds
yeah.
to a park, so
Yeah, yeah,
it just seems like a good switch. You wonder how financially this is washing out.
yeah. I think it depends on how much the adjoining property owners want the 40 acres.
Bidding war.
Pardon?
We need to start a bidding war.
Well, and that was my insight, it isn't secluded just to those three if you can gain right away, or, and then it's open to anyone, but if it's really hard to get to, then it's really restricted kind of to those three that have property around it, so.
Right.
Other questions, comments, regards to these properties?
In the back of my mind, and nothing directly to do with this, but from studying it, I'm a firm believer that if we're going to help the world with its carbon footprint in Chautauqua County, we're way better off doing it with reforestation and afforestation and then sustainable management of forests than we are with solar panels in the cloudiest part of the United States of America. And because we end up with sustainable timber business. It's farming, it's 100-year farming, but it's farming, which we're going to supply way more jobs of people we know who can do those kind of jobs in the timber business than any solar farm ever will, and probably offset more carbon net than the damn solar farm will. Oh, sorry, pardon my French.
Any other comments or questions? Or analogies? Like the analogy. Not hearing any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution number 5 is amended 2025 budget for DPF capital improvements, funded bridge program.
Good morning again. This resolution, we are actually just doing some bookkeeping error or bookkeeping corrections. Revenue is incorrectly appropriated to the wrong funding source. It was not supposed to be state aid. It was supposed to be federal aid. So this is just a matter of just moving the money where it needs to be. There's no budgetary changes or anything along those lines.
Okay. Questions, comments? Not hearing any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Thank you.
you.
Proposed resolution number 6, apply for and accept FAA and New York State DOT funds to rehabilitate runway 1331 at Chautauqua County Jamestown Airport construction.
Journal entries sometimes in the campus.
Good morning, all. John McNamara, Deputy Director, Public Facilities Airports. So the resolution that you have in front of you this morning is in regards to the crosswind runway at Jamestown Runway 1331. It's for reconstruction of the runway. The runway is approximately 4,500 feet by 100 feet. It was last reconstruction was in 2001. So due to regular use of the runway, snow removal over the past 25 years, The runway condition is fallen below the threshold that is advisable per the FAA, and also makes the runway, due to its 25-year age and the condition of the runway, eligible for federal and state funding. So, and in regards to the funding, the current FAA funding is 95%. State funding would be 2.5%. Local share funding would be 2.5%. That may revert back to the traditional 5% local share versus the current 2.5% local share. So for this, this significant project, it's advantageous at this time to capitalize on that additional FAA funding that's available.
Questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I've heard you say that a couple times that it might revert back to the old funding where we're paying 5% instead of the 2.5. How do you know that, or is there some historical data that you know that?
So I don't know for sure. That's why I say it might. I think it's likely to. Historical data is traditionally the FAA's airport capital improvement program. They pay 90% of the cost due to, I guess, incentives, or the additional funds were made available over the past few years here, and they could decide they could decide to continue that, but I would say most likely, in my opinion, that it would revert back to the traditional funding.
This runway project, when it's a construction phase, so when would this proposed work likely start and take place?
Yep, good question. So the work would hopefully take place in the spring of '27, when weather permitted construction to begin. So hopeful, May time frame.
Hopefully we don't see amendment next year that we need to adjust it up some, right? And then we'd see that fancy writing.
So I can certainly appreciate amendments. In this case, these numbers are based on the bids that we received, and so assuming that it's we received the grant award, and I'd like to think that hopefully they hold true, but with these types of projects, large scale projects, there's always an opportunity for things to not always work out as you planned. So,
questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One nay vote. Motion is carried.
How come we never count the yes votes?
It's written in the bylaws and rules that the chairman only has to identify a nay vote.
Thank you for clarifying that, I appreciate it. I didn't take it personally.
Understood. Proposed resolution number 7 is apply for and accept FAA and New York State DOT funds for purchase of SRE equipment at Chautauqua County Jamestown Airport.
yeah, so this resolution refers to purchase of new snow removal equipment, as we refer to as SRE. This would replace our current 2012 Kenworth plow. And in replacement, we would look to not only have a plow, but we'd have a broom. So it's a multifunctional carrier vehicle with a broom and a plow combination. The rationale and, for this purchase is the age of the Kenworth truck and the mechanical condition records, things like that, deem it eligible for FAA funding towards new equipment. And the new equipment would, of course, we would certainly anticipate less maintenance, repair costs with the new equipment. We'd also realize significant efficiency with having the broom, being able to remove snow at depths that are compatible with a broom, can do it quicker than the plow, and that certainly would decrease our man hours that we need to spend to clear the surfaces at Jamestown, which, winter like this winter is generally a daily ongoing occurrence.
So this is one vehicle?
Yes.
Do you have a picture of it? I mean, it's $1 million Kenworth. That's quite something.
They are impressive machines. They really are. I do not have a picture with me.
I mean, I'm thinking it's really big.
It's pretty big, yes. Yes. You may be familiar with, like a current blower, snow blower.
I've seen them at the Buffalo Airport.
Big machines.
Or
Yeah.
yeah. Those are $1 million vehicles.
Yeah.
Don't the Koreans want to bid on this or something?
Yep.
Prices of equipment is climbing.
Absolutely,
And just kind of sad. And then, unfortunately, quality isn't climbing with it. These things are more problematic than they were 20 years ago, too, with the electronics that are involved with them. And they become people think that you're going to save money because you have this newer equipment, and mechanics fees are, costs in maintaining, but quite honestly, it's probably going to increase it. Questions?
Is this something that we use, is it strictly used in Jamestown, or could it be used in Dunkirk? Do you move equipment around like that, or does it stay in one?
So, we have dedicated equipment at Dunkirk, dedicated equipment at Jamestown. Not that it, couldn't necessarily be moved, but it's not, not most efficient to try to move them back and forth between airports. And then, other considerations with that too, like salt on the road and things like that you don't want to have on the runway. So.
Other comments, questions?
How old is the plow that we have now?
2012.
Okay.
When we sell those pieces of equipment, where do the funds go for that?
So, in this case, we would likely retain Kenworth as a backup spare, but if we did sell the equipment would go back towards airport projects. It must stay with the airport. And then essentially, basically a credit or a debit, I guess a debit in this case, towards future projects.
In that credit, is it associated with the local share, or would it be also included in the state and federal share? Would that same credit be distributed as the same way in which we purchase?
So I guess, trying to think of how best to explain it. If for example, if we were to sell the Kenworth for just simple math, $100,000.
Right.
That $100,000 would go towards a future capital improvement project. And so assuming the shares were at the same percentages as they are today, then it would be essentially the same split. So we would get the 2.5% benefit of that.
Yep. No. So that was my question. If we assume the whole or our same percent back.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
What do we have for clearing the runways at Dunkirk? Do they have their own one?
Yeah, we have a dedicated blower and a dedicated main blower, dedicated main plow at both airports.
Okay. So you've probably considered shuffling the old one from Jamestown to Dunkirk and selling the one at Dunkirk or something, or I don't know. just in terms of your total fleet.
Yeah, so we can move, we could do something like that, you know, so if it makes sense, if this is approved and it makes sense, to do something like that, we certainly could do that.
Do you have a current spare, and is there a spare at either airport, or are you creating a spare?
Yeah, we have an older spare blower, and we have an older spare plow. We also have a loader at each of the airports that we use, which is really needed for, you know, like the parking lot areas and things like that.
So, I'm just interested, in 12 or 13 years, the piece of equipment we've had has depreciated that much?
I'm sorry, I was trying to preface the $100,000 was just easy math.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. For a percentage basis.
He doesn't know what it's worth because he's not interested in getting rid of it. It's now.
No, it's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in my head doing, well, the damn thing couldn't have run more than about 10,000 miles. What are these things made of?
Let's use $1 million.
I don't know, you know, each pass on the runway is, you know, close to a mile.
Sure.
We make a lot of passes, so, but, yeah.
Well, you go backwards sometimes, so it's got to reverse them off. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
We have one nay vote.
Start checking.
Motion's carried. Next proposed resolution, number 8, is authorized public hearing for agreement between Chautauqua County and Schultz Air Shows LLC for Air Boss services for the 2027 Chautauqua County Air Show at Chautauqua County Jamestown Airport.
So we're in the planning stages for our planned 2027 air show, August 2027. And this resolution authorizes a public hearing for Schultz Air Shows, who we'd like to select as the air show boss for our show.
Sounds great. Questions, comments?
I think I asked this, or somebody asked this last Monday, the runway that's been worked on, that you'll be in the middle of that construction project, and would that affect the air show?
Yep. So we anticipate being complete with the runway project in July. We'd be, you know, end of July. It's going to be close, but we have discussed that, and if we are still in the construction process, we would anticipate being at the last stage. We've laid out the project in 4 different stages, and the last stage would be the portion of the runway, the south portion of the runway between the intersection 725 and at the end of the approach end for runway 31.
John, do you still have that copy of the picture we had, I think, 3 months ago at the airport committee that showed the phasing plan?
I do. I don't have it handy,
Yeah.
with me, but yes.
Could you email that to the committee, just so we
Sure.
have an idea of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, I know because I've looked at it, but give them a better idea.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Is this runway is you have other runway choices, correct? So that it just would be nice to have it completed, sure. But I think that this is something that hopefully will all happen, and if it isn't, I'm sure that you can adjust and make it work, or just push the date back a little if possible. So it should work out fine.
Yep. Yeah. Good points. You know, fortunately, the reconstruction is of the crosswind runway. So the main runway would be what would primarily be used for the event. Certainly would be great to have both open, and we anticipate that, and that's our goal.
I mean, you've flown around a lot, but it seems to me, as I used to puddle jump around, to have a county airport with a cross runway is unusual, and to have 2 of them, both with crosswind runways for counties our side, let's just say we're blessed.
Yeah, I don't know if I would characterize it as unusual, but I would definitely say we're fortunate to have crosswind runways
Sure.
at both airports.
But it's, I don't know, it's just as I puddle jump around, typically you see one county airport with one runway. And for small, rural county, granted you get into cities and it gets bigger,
Yeah.
but, no, I appreciate them because I had a hard time with crosswind
Yeah.
landings.
Yep. Me too, yeah.
That's why we're wearing out our snow blowers.
Yeah. We got all these-
Questions, other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I was. Next proposed resolution number 8 is authorize public hearing for agreement between Chautauqua County, that's the one I just did, so 9. Proposed resolution number 9, authorize public hearing for ground and taxiway lease with Barron North G58 LLC at Chautauqua County Dunkirk Airport.
So this resolution is a renewal of a long-term lease that we've had with Barron North G58 LLC at the Dunkirk Airport since 1996. And it includes approximately an acre of property in total, also of which includes use of the of taxiway leading from taxiway Bravo to the private hangar for this LLC.
Questions, comments?
So there's no building, it's just use of the runway.
There's no county buildings, there's a private hangar building, yes.
Oh,
Yep.
This is the big hangar on the northeast, more or less corner of the airport.
Yes, yep.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Next proposed resolution is number 10, is to amend the 2026 budget for the Department of County Clerk and Motor Vehicles.
Good morning, Sam Zafoto, Deputy Director of Finance.
Greg Carlson, County Clerk. This resolution to amend the 2026 budget for the Department of the County Clerk and Motor Vehicles is a budget-neutral resolution. The nuts and bolts is the Department of Motor Vehicles has received a quote from New York State in the amount of $6,132 to add additional processing computers, one at each one of our DMV locations. So the way the Department of Motor Vehicle works is the county supplies the personnel and the facilities, and then the State Department of Motor Vehicles supplies the computers, the software, the forms that we use to process the transactions. So if we wanted additional processing computers, it's not something that we can do here locally. It has to come from the state. The computers are imaged there. The type of printer used to print out the registrations and the various documents used by the DMV come from the state. The purpose behind this is the way we're set up currently is that each processing computer is at a cashier window. So when we get mail-in transactions, and in particular dealer transactions, we have to close down a customer service window in order to process those transactions. So one of the things I was running across when I became county clerk was complaints from various dealerships on the turn time, even though we have 45 days to do it, but was the turn time to get their dealer registrations back, which was causing some strain there. So by having these processing computers that we can put off of the main cashier window, we can get those accomplished much easier, much quicker, and not close down a public cashier station. The second good piece of this is once the initial purchase is made, it becomes a part of our county inventory in the eyes of the state. So any future upgrades, computer replacements would actually be paid for by the state. So it's a one-time investment. The second piece of the puzzle was a quote for the security system installation at the Dunkirk DMV. This quote actually came last year but didn't make it into the budget, so we're adding it to the budget now, and all of this is covered by contractual decrease and then an increase in revenue from the sale of scrap metal at the DMVs. Any questions?
What type of scrap metal?
So the license plates previously under the olds, I don't know if you've seen the news, but there's a lot of stuff about the license plates. So we've updated our security procedure. So now when you surrender a plate at the DMV, it is destroyed that day by the person that you surrender it to. Okay, so it's cut in half, and it used to go to landfill. It no longer goes to landfill. It goes to Weitzman's, and then we get revenue for the scrap metal.
Yeah, okay, great.
So-
Yeah, the state doesn't want their share back, huh?
No,
Surprised they're gonna start having their own dumpsters sitting there.
It was going strange places.
The couple questions I have, makes sense. So you stated that the computers become ours. Do we maintain them? Do we have our IT department do all the maintenance, bug fixes, updates, that sort of thing? And the other question is manpower. Obviously, just adding an extra computer doesn't necessarily add the extra person to do those transactions. So inevitably, you might be pulling someone off of up front, but at least it's not. I'm just curious.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that go with that. So we don't want to hire another person for budgetary purposes. So having the computer creates a bunch of different options. The supervisor or even the county clerk can go and help out the DMVs with dealer transactions in the event that we get behind on those.
Get a
So,
backlog.
yeah, that's an option. The other piece is there's certain trainings that can only be done on the New York State DMV computer. So that's another thing. If you've ever been to a DMV and you're waiting on a long line and you see a DMV representative with headphones on, not serving the customers, watching a video, it's part of the mandatory training that they have to do. And sometimes you just have to close down a window and allow them to do that. So we don't plan on adding another person to computers specifically so we don't have to add another person. I'm sorry, there was another question.
The county is
Oh, the
managing
IT. So it's a little bit of both, okay? So any sort of software issues or connectivity issues, we actually call the New York State Department of Motor Vehicles IT folks. When it comes to like a local connectivity issue, then it would be our IT department. So if we have anything specific to the software, to the processing computer, we actually go through New York State's IT help desk.
Other questions?
Well, following on your question, Mr. Chairman, what are our options instead of getting another piece of equipment is to shift the hours. Again, in the private sector, if we were doing something like this and we had the equipment, we would just have somebody come in after 5 o'clock and work for 2 hours.
I would be very happy if you talked to the union about
Aha.
that project.
Okay, so now we find the roadblock.
Yeah. No, I'm not, in no way am I
I didn't
blaming
mean
you.
to
I'm
put
just
words
saying.
in your mouth, I'm
No,
sorry.
I'm just saying that the way the contract is set up, that's actually what we do right now is, when we get behind, we have people come in either early or stay late, but you can't keep up with the volume by doing that continuously, and then you take people away from the 8:30 to 4:30 open hours that we have serving the public.
So we're at capacity as a retail operation, 8 to 5 or whatever the hours are, with, window stuff.
Right.
Because I've been in there and there's been lines and I've been in there and I was the only guy, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah, obviously it's variable, but generally speaking, the DMVs are busy, in particular Jamestown and Dunkirk. Mayville is busy because that's where you get a lot of the mail-ins, is to our Mayville office.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, we leave it into your discretion to be able to get the work completed in those places with the personnel, right? And if you shift things around to make it more efficient, that's within your realm. So we appreciate
And a lot of it too is there's two things that you're doing. So yes, you want to be as absolutely cost effective as possible in government. At the same time, you're providing a service to the public. So a lot of our transactions come from the dealerships. So if we can do something without hiring another person that's going to serve our dealerships better, who give us a ton of business, then that's a really good, sound economic thing to do. And in the long run, could actually increase the revenue to the county, because we keep 10.75% of every transaction. So if word on the street is, hey, Chautauqua County DMVs turned their dealer transactions in 2 or 3 days as opposed to 2 or 3 weeks, then you have more dealerships that want to utilize your services.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution is amend the Board of Elections 2026 budget for equipment purchase.
All right, Sam Zafoto, Deputy Director of Finance.
Luz Torres, Commissioner. Natalie Green, Deputy Commissioner.
All right, good morning. This is a budget neutral resolution. This actually relates to a grant Board of Elections had the vote by mail. This is, essentially the expense was put in the contractual line, but is being used to purchase a replacement ballot printer. This is also being reimbursed 100% by New York State, but that revenue was already included in the 2026 budget, so this is just a shift between the appropriation accounts to move forward.
Great. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution in front of us today is amend the spending plan for 2025 budget for Chautauqua County projects funded by the American Rescue Plan Act.
Good morning, Blake Ehrig, Director of Administrative Services. This resolution is to amend the spending plan and 2025 budget for the ARPA projects. These projects here, we're reconciling really any of the 2025 ARPA projects that need to be reconciled in 2025, and also closing out what needs to be closed.
Questions, comments? Blake is we're going over the general discussion through the
Yes.
discussion a little later, so any questions in that we can cover through that section as well, but anything specific to this resolution? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Next proposed resolution is amend spending plan for 2026 budget for Chautauqua County projects funded by the American Rescue Plan.
So this resolution is to transfer the remaining open projects from 2025 into 2026 that will be completed this year.
Okay, questions, comments?
2026, the last year?
That is correct, yes, end of year this year. I'm hoping to have it done before the end of, like, December, but
Through all your correspondences with the government and regarding this account, they haven't said that they're going to promote a new
No.
award, have they?
no, they have not.
Wishful thinking.
Yes.
All those in
Blake would
favor-
love for that. Blake wants to see ARPA for the rest of his life.
Yes, exactly.
Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next proposed, and I guess for clarity, those were amended, and we did approve the amended versions. So, let's see. What are we on, 14?
12, or 13, sorry.
13. Next resolution is 13. It's a transfer American Rescue Plan Act spending plan budgets from, we just did that one, right? So we're on 14?
Oh, 14,
So,
okay.
amend spending plan for 2026 budget for Chautauqua County projects funded by the American Rescue Plan Act.
Yeah, so this one here is, these were capital projects for ARPA that were rolled into 2026 already, and that are completed. So we are going ahead and closing up the ARPA projects.
Okay. Questions, comments? A lot of great projects completed.
Yes.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Excellent.
Thank you. Proposed resolution number 15 has been withdrawn.
Yep.
We will go to 16. It's amend the 2025 budget for year-end reconciliations, Department of Finance.
Mr. Chairman, any reason why it was withdrawn?
Unknown, would the person that withdrew it be willing to discuss that?
The finance person from JCC decided that they want to go in a slightly different direction, so they'll be back next month with a revised proposed resolution.
Okay, good. I kind of assumed that might be the case, so I was this was something that I had maybe suggested to her, so I figured that we'd probably see it again. It's my fault.
Yep, all right. I'm allergic to contingency funds.
That was a nervous little.
Fred won't be here next month, so that's a better reason to have it too. Number 16, amend 2025 budget for year-end reconciliations, Department of Finance.
Good morning, Kitty Lyons, Director of Finance. One of our final reconciliations resulted in one of our prepaid accounts requiring an adjustment to pull the funds out of the prepaid expense. So it was kind of a late adjustment that ended up putting us over at a later date. So this is just to update that account.
Questions, comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Next, for resolution number 17, which is to amend 2025 budget for year-end reconciliations miscellaneous department. This was favored account from Mr. Gould.
This is this adjustment is due to the final amounts that we paid out to municipalities for sales tax. So since the revenue was in excess of the budget, the corresponding payment to the municipalities was in excess of what was budgeted. So this is a resolution to increase the amount going out as well as increase the revenue that was received to pay out to the municipalities.
All right. So total revenue received was bigger than this, but this is the municipality's share.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
This seemed like a high number. Is this unusual or just kind of
No, we
normal?
usually, I mean, if the sales tax budget is running higher than what we have budgeted in general, the amount that we budgeted to pay out to the municipalities would also be greater. So it just depends that year to year how close we are to our budgeted sales tax or not. So because we had surplus sales tax, we also had surplus sales tax that we had to pay out to the municipalities. So this is just the final amount.
And just to clarify, I mean, yes, we'd gone over that amount last month, maybe the month before, and that it seems like a large number of a miss, but it isn't. In fact, that our sales tax budget, we were only a very small percentage increase over. So
For our share, yes.
for
Yeah,
our total share. So.
And this is the municipality's share that was over
Yeah.
what we had budgeted. So we need to pay it out, and we had already received the revenue for it, so it offsets.
We had missed by, it was under 2%, was it?
We had, I think it was approximately $1 million surplus to our
Yeah.
sales tax budget
Mhm.
for the county's share of sales
That's
tax.
correct.
Now we have $600,000 that is in excess of what we had budgeted to share with the municipalities.
So it came up last night in the planning department's presentation. So just our total sales tax receipts, 25 versus 24.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can send that to you.
Apparently it was up. I guess.
Our sales tax receipts from
Total.
24 to 20, yeah.
By quite a bit, and that was kind of surprising to me because, our total economy in the year really didn't grow that much. So it was just, how come that our sales tax were up? And something must have happened out in the economy that was favorable.
The Scudder's Amazon account.
There's, I don't know what was discussed or reported during that meeting. I wasn't asked to provide any information, but I
That's
can
right.
get you the historical.
Sure, it'd be great. Thanks.
Can I make one comment about when I read this, it's miscellaneous department, right?
Department 99, so that is the department where all expenses and revenues that are like, they're called countywide expenses and revenue. They're not attributable to one specific department, like sales tax isn't attributable to the probation department. Those expenses and revenues that are not specific to a department are recorded under Department 99.
Kind of what I wondered,
Yeah.
what was included in that.
It's sales tax, property tax, fire district loans, interest earnings, that are dedicated to capital projects, interfund transfers.
Bunch of miscellaneous stuff.
No countywide stuff.
Mr. Scudder?
We have the number, the general number. Do we have a breakdown of what each municipality is getting?
In total, yeah. I mean, this is just
I mean-
the amount over what we had budgeted. And the municipalities' distribution is based on the overall budget for sales tax.
So of the $738,928, do we know what each municipality has gotten in addition?
I
That
could
makes sense?
figure that out, but generally we just record it as the total amount that each municipality has gotten. It's not based,
Okay.
we don't budget by the individual municipality, we budget by the totals.
But we do know what each municipality is
Yes.
receiving.
Correct,
But we
yeah.
don't know how much
I didn't break
more-
it down into like how much over the budget each municipality that we budget,
I'll call you.
okay. Yeah, at any time I can provide what on a quarterly basis we are distributing to municipalities.
Well, and I suppose to answer that easily, if we knew what the budget was, and if it was X, we could put that amount in, and each municipality would get that amount. If you
It's not
increase
going
it,
all to
but my
Westfield.
point is now we're giving them an extra 738, it gets distributed evenly across all of them in sense of.
Based on
so it would just
the
increase-
formulary, they
yeah,
get their share
so-
of this.
Well,
You
I
could
was
have
going
a-
somewhere with that, but I'll save that. But, yes. I understand all that.
No,
I just- Yeah, okay, I'll tell you later.
Okay. I'm curious. Any other questions, comments? Now that I'm on a cliff, any other questions or comments? If not hearing any, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next resolution is amend 2025 budget for year-end reconciliations, capital and interfund accounts.
I'm here this time. Good morning. Jennifer Swan, Budget Director. This resolution is just to amend and close, essentially, a number of capital projects for year-end. And as a positive result, $58,000 is going to be returned to the reserve for capital. So $58,000 back to the reserved fund balance and prepping to close these capital projects.
Questions, comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Carried. Thank you. Next proposed resolution number 19 is the prospective cancellation of uncollected tax liens.
Good morning. Todd Button, First Deputy Director of Finance. I am filling in for Kim Moline, who is not available today. The resolution before you is to approve the authorization of a Section 1138 filing against this property in Ripley to forego the charge and collection of taxes in future years. This property is what was formerly known as the Ripley Hotel in downtown Ripley. It is a condemned building at this point, and is serving no current function. There was a partial demolition on this building back in 2010, I believe it was. However, there is still a section of this building that exists because it shares a shared wall with the former Ripley Hardware, which is also right next door to it in downtown. So this property was foreclosed on in 2011, failed to sell, and has been a problem ever since, and should have been dealt with in this manner a number of years ago, but we're finally getting around to doing it.
And what are we doing with it?
Currently, all we're doing with it is preventing the future charge of taxes on it. One of the things that goes back to the 2010 auction, or 2011, was that the town of Ripley had initially expressed an interest in taking over this property and then did not follow through with it. And ever since then, there was subsequent interest by the land bank to help out with it. And the issue comes down to this shared wall between the two buildings that unfortunately the current listed owner on the hotel is one gentleman, and there's another owner for the hardware store, which is again not being used other than for storage, I believe. So until a solution can be arranged with engineering this wall so that demolition can occur, short of that, combined ownership would probably have to take place on this building to develop that entire block.
Is there is there work that is going to take place to see that through?
My last understanding was the land bank was going to inquire on getting an engineering study done on this project, but I don't have any further details on that.
And we
Sorry.
anticipate, then what we're doing today actually is making it so we don't continue to pay, the county in a sense has been making in whole the town of Ripley,
Yeah, going back to an earlier meeting, the last time I was up here, it's about stopping the bleeding.
Yeah.
All right, this has been on our property tax task force radar for quite some time, and so we're taking the next step to at least put a tourniquet on the wound.
Sure.
And hopefully one day we can get that property
Yeah,
demolished and redeveloped to somebody who can use it.
We're hopeful that we can move forward with this, but in the meantime, the liability of the taxes
Right.
needs to
Yes.
stop.
Oh, and that's great, and like you said, it should have been done years ago, and here we are doing it, so this is good work from the county in the sense of, protecting our own assets, so.
Who owns this?
Gentleman's name is Michael Sievert. That's all I
So
have.
if he's that far, so if he's that far behind in his taxes, why does he still own it?
Well, again, we foreclosed on it. We put it up for auction, and nobody wanted it.
So we own it.
No, we never took tax deed to it. We have a judgment of foreclosure on the property, but we did not take the ultimate tax deed because then we would be ultimately responsible for taking care of the property.
Okay.
So it just sits kind of in limbo.
Currently, yes, it's sitting there as a derelict eyesore.
So we won't be taking property of this or ownership of this necessarily, but we'll just make it tax exempt in essence.
That's right. We've already guaranteed taxes on this property to the town of Ripley, the school district that's involved, for 16 years now. And, I mean, granted, it's a limited assessment now. I think it only has a current assessment of $9,000 on it, so the taxes charged are minor.
74,000.
However, why should we continue to guarantee taxes on a property that's never going to be paid until it's dealt with?
So Okay, I don't understand what's happened, but that point, I mean, it sounds like between the town and the county, since clearly this gentleman, Sievert, his liabilities are greater than his assets, the only people it's left to is the town and the county to deal with it. And whether it's through the land bank or directly, we ought to deal with it physically.
Not an unusual situation. And I will say, I believe that we would have foreclosed on this and taken ownership of it a long time ago. But again, because of the issue of the shared wall with the adjoining property puts,
An engineering problem.
yes, all right. I say, I mean, my opinion would be if we could get, someone could attain ownership of both buildings, then you could demolish both of them and resolve that issue for that downtown block in Ripley. But until that arrangement is made with the owner of the hardware store, you know, I don't know what an engineering study and ultimate demolition would be to secure that wall would cost. That has to be looked into.
Well, Tom's point, I mean, this sounds like, this isn't the only place in Chautauqua County this kind of thing happens.
No. We've
So,
been
sounds
dealing with some of these problem properties and these eyesores for quite a
Fred,
bit.
let me speak to that a little bit. We, in the past, have had, I'll call them verbal agreements with municipalities. Hey, we're interested in this property. So, right or wrong, we would pull it from the auction with the understanding that they would be taking over the properties. And this went on for many years, all the years, 17 that I've been here. And some of those fall through or they're just not followed up on. So what we've done is we've created a monthly meeting. We have a group with Real Property Tax, and we're trying to, quote, clean up all these properties. So this isn't the first one, and there's going to be a few more probably coming down the road, but we're addressing those, and we're trying to put in place, it doesn't happen anymore. So
That's right.
if
I
a
mean,
municipality wants it, we want it, let's quote unquote, in writing, and that's how it's gonna happen. No more of this, hey, we'd like that, could you pull it? Yeah, okay, and then this is what happens. This is the end result. So we're cleaning that. Have confidence that we're cleaning that up.
and this policy specifies that during the foreclosure that we will put the municipalities at the front of the line on the properties that they're interested in. However, to Mr. Scudder's point, if that express interest is made clear to us, then we want them to follow through and take the property.
In writing.
We do it, well, express your interest in writing and then follow through in that foreclosure cycle. We do not want the county to be in the position of being everybody else's banker and real estate agent.
Absolutely.
Okay? And we dealt with this issue 5 or 6 years ago with the land bank properties where we had a filing cabinet drawer full of properties that they had expressed interest in and did not take title to immediately. We cleaned that up. We recently, last month, addressed some issues with the city of Jamestown on properties they had been expressed interest in and had not followed up in. We forced that issue, and we have a couple more properties down there as well. Now we're dealing with this one. We want to identify these problem issues as soon as possible going forward, get them off the tax rolls if necessary, and move forward in a positive manner.
So to Mr. Scudder, what we're trying to do here is come to agreement with the individual municipalities as to what the county share and the municipality's share is, and if we're all in agreement with that, then the two of us go hand in hand together and deal with the property? Is that kind of what we're doing?
So you're talking kind of an after-the-fact deal. So, you know, to my point is, you know, we have one of the questions I asked is, you know, yes, we're just taking this off the roll, but we're going to continue to put our finger on this, hopefully, to have a remedy. Now, I don't want this particular property to sit for another 10 years in midair, right? And that's what your point is. So Fred's saying, like, hey, what does the county and the town have to do to remedy this whole
Well,
situation? And,
but immediately,
you know,
nobody wants that to happen, but we also, Todd and I use this, we want to stop the bleeding.
Sure.
You know, in the meantime, the county of Chautauqua shouldn't be
stopping the bleeding is
paying
important, but
taxes
what we're,
on this property that's,
we don't want it to be derelict in the town of Ripley
Nobody-
for all
nobody
these years.
does.
No, and I agree with
Yeah.
that. So
Well,
that's,
but
it's
I-
important for us to continue to do
I
that.
think by taking it off the tax rolls and us no longer covering the school and town taxes, it almost should make the town want to do something because they've lost that income that's guaranteed. Or if it's up to them to figure out a solution to it, it's off the tax rolls until they do it at that point.
Well, and it's not necessarily up to them either. It's, you know, it's up to the county as well to help in that endeavor too. And it's, in the sense that it's, you know, at the end of the day, where's the county
Covering
gonna go
taxes
back
for
to?
16 years is help.
Well, again, this has been on the problem list for a long time. It's not the oldest problem that we've dealt with. The Silver Creek School was on our books for 27 years before we finally dealt with that situation. But again, stop the bleeding first, force the issue, and then maybe we can make some progress on getting this building torn down one way or the other. Personally, I think it's probably going to require an effort to merge the hardware store and the hotel into a one effort because,
That's the engineering solution.
yeah, unless you can find an affordable way to shore up that wall to complete the demolition, it'd probably be better to demolish two buildings and have one parcel, but that's not up to me.
But let me understand something. When you say stop the bleeding, I may have this wrong, but it sounds to me like we're just passing the bleeding from the county to the municipality.
No, we're taking our share too, because every tax bill has a county share, a town share, a village share, if there is one, and a school share. So, yeah, we're taking a hit too.
So the bleeding, Fred, is we're not collecting anything, but we're paying the town, we're
Exactly.
paying
Right.
the school, so that's the bleeding.
Yeah, no, so that's what I mean. Is the fact that this guy can't pay his taxes is spilt milk under the bridge, but we're writing the municipality checks.
Every year when the county town tax bill comes out,
And so
all
we're gonna
right,
quit doing
we
that.
make the town whole for their share of that tax, which is ultimately never going to be collected. And if we ultimately do sell it through a foreclosure process, we are going to take the hit on the entire loss.
But that's what I think I meant was, we're no longer gonna write Ripley a check for their share.
Correct. And we're not going to
Ripley's gonna be-
we're not going to write the school district a check anymore either.
But in total, if I take total county, school district, and Ripley, nothing's changed. It's just which pocket it's, Ripley's lost it instead of the county.
Well-
Until we do something.
Well, it has changed.
It has changed because it's going to be zero now.
I guess
From the county to Ripley.
There will be no taxes charged whatsoever in the outgoing years.
My only-
Until this property goes back on the roll, then it'll be reassessed.
But on a cash basis, we may be charging taxes to this guy, but he ain't paying them.
Right.
So on a cash basis, not an accrual basis, I think we're just,
Well, you are taking a property off the rolls until such time as it's deemed to be of value again.
I got it. But
So you are reducing a revenue source to the county, to the town, to the school, all right? But better to not charge it and never collect it than to think you're getting it and never get it.
I understand.
I see it as a little bit of a leverage stand, especially if the town of Ripley did offer 16 years ago to buy this and backed out since we worked on a verbal agreement, and then has sat there for the last 16 years and gotten their share of it. Yeah, they're probably still irritated that they're looking at a dilapidated site, but where is the motivation for them to do something if they know that if it sits there, they're still going to get their money out of it? I guess is my look at it. So if we cut that off, then it brings everybody to the table to find a solution to get it solved.
well, at the end of the day, Ripley's sending a tax bill out and they're getting $0 for it. And as a representative, as we all are of Chautauqua County, I don't feel we should pay the tax.
Correct.
I mean, they're getting 0, and that's gonna be the net result. There's just gonna be no taxes paid on this building.
I don't have a problem with this.
Well, I
I
don't
would like
either.
to see
I'm just-
kind of a time frame set for after a foreclosure process, even if there is something in writing and a town and city decides to back out, that it doesn't go on 16 years, because I'd be curious to know if
That's gonna be,
$74,000 is a lot of money to.
What's really gonna help us is, like Todd said, we keep it in the cycle. We don't address it years later, we address it right away. And we're not demonizing Ripley here.
No.
This has gone on in most municipalities across the county.
For sure.
So this just happens to be the one that's on the table today,
Well,
so we're
yeah.
not attacking Ripley.
In every situation is so unique. So if this was an easy solution, then it would have been dealt with years ago, but that adjoining wall is a stick in this poke.
Right.
But
It's
the
a
end of the
similar
day, it's-
situation that was dealt with 4 or 5 years ago in Brockton with the, was it the meat market store and the hardware store?
It was a
or
deli or something,
something
yeah.
in there. There was another shared wall because it was downtown, and
Right.
it took a combined effort to engineer it, to shore it up, to tear it down. And that was expedited ultimately because the derelict building ultimately collapsed, I believe, on the sidewalk, so it had to be
Part of the problem
expedited.
is, once you tear the building down, then there's an exposed wall, and then there's a liability to that exposed wall. So the owner of that property needs to agree, you're exposing a wall, then that wall needs to be treated, for exterior conditions, and we just haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, where's the leverage fall, or where's the motivation fall, and since that owner that bought the other store or other building, you're buying a building with a potential need of attention and fault, and so it's something that he may need to address at some point in time too. So it's
But on our end-
how's the county push that effort along is
We need
is
to address
difficult.
it on our end
Sure.
to start, and that's what we're attempting to do.
So I have a couple questions. So the hardware store is not open?
No,
Fair enough, okay. I've been to Ripley in a while.
yeah. No, the hardware store is not operating as a business. It is a vacant building that
Are they for
I believe
sale?
they have some storage
It
in
looks
there,
like
but
storage,
it's not an ongoing concern.
And it's not for sale or not, no one's?
No,
Sell it or-
Not that we know of.
not, to my knowledge, the owner of that building is paying their taxes and is not a delinquency problem, so. I mean, if we had both buildings that were both delinquent, we could foreclose on both of them, then we could probably do that immediately and tear them down and be done with it. But,
And maybe, I don't know if you know, the owners, the people that don't pay their taxes, are there charges that can be brought against them, either civil or criminal charges?
no,
What-
you take away their property. But unfortunately, this particular case, there are extenuating circumstances that come with that property,
Yeah. But other than taking away.
Again, it's the same as the Silver Creek School issue that was dealt with. It's the same as we have with the one in Jamestown, the arcade building in Jamestown. It was the same as the Blackstone property or the Crawford property that burned in Jamestown. I mean, it's the same as the Vac Air property down in the town of Carroll. I mean, we have thankfully not an extensive list of these things, but they pop up over the years. A few years ago, we had the abandoned gas station over in Westfield on the thruway exit that was nobody was paying the taxes on. It was foreclosed on. Ultimately, it went to the town. They had ripped the gas tanks out, and then it went back on the rolls. So it's a process. But I think the key of this discussion is that these type of situations need to be addressed or need to be identified sooner rather than later, okay? So that we don't just continue to stay in the cycle of printing out tax bills on an assessment that's never going to get paid, that the county's going to guarantee the town, the school, and the village, and then we don't foreclose on for one reason or another.
I hate to
I invite you to come to our monthly meetings because you would see what we're dealing with. Right.
So I hate to just keep asking questions and pushing it, but it's important conversation, and you know, what if you were just to give that a corner property to the person that owns the hardware store for $1 and say, we aren't gonna increase your assessment at all, and it's yours, and you can have that property for $1. I mean, has that been addressed or asked? He didn't
Well-
obviously bid on it in the open auction.
Again,
or she.
we did foreclose on it. It went through an auction cycle, and there was no express interest there. Now, whether any effort was made to reach out to the gentleman who owns the other property, I'm not aware of that. I'm not saying that's a bad idea, okay? You know, but.
Hopefully, we'll continue those discussions, and we.
Yeah.
can
Sometimes it's hard to offer a liability to someone.
Well, it's already a liability for the individual anyway, and so,
Understood,
but, you know,
but-
but then it's fully assumed if he does own both places, and
I
where
guess-
he's, you know, I'm just curious. but-
Well, I got a question for Mr. Scudder or for you. Every once in a while, when I'm doing payroll, I write a check to the sheriff, and it turns out that is it's a garnishment for a collection of debt for one of my employees. When you're in delinquency of tax payments, is there not a possibility of the same kind of civil judgment where you can end up garnishing the owner of this property's income to pay his taxes? Or is there some legal barrier to that?
I believe our only path is foreclosure.
I think that's
believe.
correct.
It seems like there's a hole in the law. There should be a way to enforce this.
Well, it's just, if
Well,
it's a
part of it's
civil
gotta fall on
debt,
code, I would
you
think.
garnish it, but if it's a real estate tax debt, you don't? That doesn't sound right.
The other interesting part would be trying to garnish 300, 400, 500 people's wages. I mean, you'd have to hire 3 full-time people just to try to do that.
Well, they pay for themselves.
Yeah.
At the end of the,
You have to have the frustrating part that the only recourse the county ever did have was to take any proceeds, which are very limited. Now through the state and
Gotta
federal
give 'em
ruling,
back.
any proceeds of these people, we will do all the work for them and give them proceeds. So it's a very frustrating system.
Yeah.
Well,
Very.
proceeds in excess of the 74,000.
right.
All right.
But
Any
at-
other,
At the end of the day, every foreclosure is not clean.
certainly
A
not.
lot of them are. They're not simple, but they fall within the process, and it all just, we just get these clinkers every year that
One-
we are trying to now stay on top of and not allow to get to this point.
Sure. No, yeah, and in short, we're hoping to clean up those properties for the betterment of the communities in which they stand, and also the betterment of the county finance. So, other questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you.
Godspeed.
Thank you.
Next proposed resolution today is amend 2026 budget for the Department of Probation. Maybe probation could act in this situation. And
Good morning, Sam Zafoto, Deputy Director of Finance again.
Gilbert Taylor, Director of Probation.
Yep, and this is a resolution essentially to add some grant funds into the 2026 budget. There's two pieces to it. One is a resolution that was done last year for $20,000. This is actually revenue coming from the district attorney to probation. This was for some replacement Microsoft Surface Pros and some and other accessories with that. We did not get that accomplished in fiscal year 25, either revenue or expense, so that amendment is moving that forward here into 26. And the second piece is a larger amendment for the ATI pretrial service award. It's a 2-year award. The total award is over is $707,000. Essentially, this is adding half to this year's budget.
you say you didn't get things done in a year, just didn't get to it, didn't have the equipment, or the waiting for stuff?
We didn't
or-
get the order. We worked with IT essentially in January to kind of get this all working. So it's
Yeah.
all happening in this fiscal year. We just, unfortunately, the timing of it didn't happen. I kind of was trying to get it to it basically in December. It ended up in January, and that's where the encumbrance is.
Okay, so not a big lag then,
No.
just a
No.
month, so. Questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next resolution on our agenda is authorize execution New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services Grant and Community Outreach and Risk Reduction Programs, COT, fiscal year 2026.
Sheriff Jim Quattrone.
Charlie Enlow, Fiscal Supervisor.
And before Ms. Enlow proceeds, it's a Community Outreach Team, COT. That's for Mr. Shagnon.
This resolution that we have in front of you today is to authorize execution of a New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services grant titled Community Outreach and Risk Reduction Program, also titled as COT, fiscal year 2026. We are requesting to increase our appropriations under the contractual in the Sheriff's Department for $280,185 and increase our revenue accounts under New York State Aid, $280,185. The contract period is July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. It is a budget neutral amendment, and there are no local funds required.
Questions, comments for?
CARES, what is that acronym?
It is a long acronym to satisfy the federal grant. And so what I'm telling you is I can never remember what it stands for.
So-
I like CARES just because I wanted to start it with just CARES, and then they came up with the acronym. So CARES means, really in my mind, is we're caring about our community, we're caring about these individuals. But that is not what it stands for. It has a lot to do with statistics and other guidelines that the federal government was looking for another grant that we have through the federal government, the COSUP grant. But I will get back to you on that, Mr. Nelson.
I could make something up real quick.
No, thank you.
In the nuts and bones of this, what department is this specifically?
Good question. This is through the sheriff's office, and it's the CARES. You probably hear more often referenced as the hub, the reentry hub. So the reentry hub falls under CARES.
Okay.
It's the Chautauqua Comprehensive Addiction Response and Evaluation System, according to your website.
And I couldn't have said that any better, Mr. Anthony.
That's actually what I just made up here. That's incredible.
Anyways, we are our goal in initiating this at the CARES, all of it is, I like to say we need to be smarter on crime. From the Nixon era, we were tougher on crime. We're seeing across New York State, the soft on crime isn't effective, nor was the hard on crime. And we need to be smart on it, and this is an effort to reduce our recidivism. And not only the recidivism, but I mentioned yesterday, public safety, our homeless issue. There's a huge intersection between homelessness, drug addiction, mental health, crime. And this is an avenue that we can hopefully kind of reach across some of those lines.
So that was my question. What is the Community Outreach and Risk Reduction Program, or the Community Outreach Team? What do we do? What is it?
We reach out to those who are leaving the jail. We also have what's called the situation table, and that takes what I would call the tough cases, the difficult cases, and connects them with services across the board. We have a lot of service providers, but whether we like this or not, I call it some hand-holding of people who are leaving the jail because they need their hands held. We've all needed our hands held at different times in our life, and this is something that we're doing to hopefully keep them out of the systems, reduce costs, not just the criminal justice system, but the hospitals. Unfortunately, many of these people use the emergency room as their primary care versus going to it, and that increases the costs, our social service costs, our jail costs. As I mentioned again yesterday, public safety is we have a framework. We do have a whole document that explains all that we do with it, and I always invite and welcome anybody to join us at the hub to see what's going on, or to join us at our situation table to be able to see the work that's being done.
I recently had an opportunity. I was early to a meeting So I stopped in at the hub, and yeah, it's just right over in the community, in the lower municipal building across the street here, and they wanted to service me. They asked if I thought I was a potential client walking in, and but I introduced myself and asked them some great questions, and we had some good. I had some good feedback, so I'd warn anybody to go down over there and see the service firsthand, but also you can ask them some good questions.
I'll wear my coat and tie.
It was a nice meeting anyhow, and great work that they're doing out of there. And I asked some specifics about the work they're doing, and they really can see the influence that they're having in some of the people. Some of them they don't reach, and as the sheriff alluded to, holding hands. You'll continue to hold some of those hands, and hopefully the program will work. And they actually would say someone may be there a couple times, and then finally the third or fourth time might actually work. So great work. Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Proposed resolution number 22 is authorized standardization of Axon brand camera and software products at the Chautauqua County Office of the Sheriff.
Yes, this resolution, as mentioned, it standardized the Axon brand cameras and our software. We're using Axon products for our body cameras, our car cameras, our tasers, and the standardization will allow us to stay with this company, save some money, save some time, some training through this, and we can stock supplies for them and have a couple officers trained in one product versus having to stock supplies for multiple products and send them to multiple trainings to accommodate other brands. So.
All right, it's just, I'm on a financial roll this morning. So standardizing Axon's good, we standardize. My experience in business, when you get in with a sole supplier, you start becoming their prisoner. It starts off great, and then they start giving you price increases greater than inflation until you finally can't stand it anymore, and then you gotta go rebid it. Is there any kind of forward-looking contract with these people so that as they provide us services over time in the future, we don't get bit?
Currently, the contract we have them is, I believe it's a 5-year contract, and then we can renew that.
So whatever price increases are in the 5 years is agreed to?
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree with, over the last few years here, we've seen some standardization resolutions come forward for such instances, and I, have a tendency to say that it will discourage competition or, to keep the price effective. And, I understand the perimeters around the idea to standardize, but I think it does enable some potential cost concerns, and at the end of the day, what does the state have to say in sense of a comptroller's audit, in sense of standardization? Do they care one way or the other, or do they see, what's their outlook or standpoint? Do you know?
I have no idea. I will say that I share your concern, Mr. Johnson, that I see this with our software. I see it happens all the time. They like to bill us for everything. We ask them a question, we get a bill. But I do, on a regular basis, view my concerns with the Axon, including the founder of Axon and his staff. But I also have an opportunity to evaluate on a regular basis different products. And if we're finding something that's way out of line, most of our contracts, we have these outs that we can get out. We have to give them a notice, but we make sure those are built into our agreements with them. So.
Other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm a nay. Motion is carried. Next proposed resolution is, let's see, authorized agreement with Chautauqua Cattaraugus Erie to BOCES for culinary arts instruction 2026-2027.
This agreement is, it's been a long-term agreement we've had with Erie 2 BOCES for our culinary program. It covers the part of the cost of salary and fringe benefits for our food services supervisor, and and the reason they cover that is he does some training in the kitchen of some of our incarcerated individuals, like with Safe Serve and different products or different programs. So when helps enhance their abilities to find employment upon release. Plus, it helps us to keep our costs lower by not only some of his salaries covered, but then we have some of our incarcerated individuals helping prepare and serve the food to the rest of the body at the census at the jail. And the contract is July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
Questions, comments?
It's a great idea. How long have we been doing this?
Many years. I don't know. It's been the cost, the amount changes at different times. We are currently looking at some other avenues to also help with that similar program, but to help offset additional
Are there
salary.
stories of people, later becoming, a chef or working in food service, or do you ever come back 25 years later and say, hey, this was me at one time, and now I'm working here?
I don't have any accurate statistics on it, but I can say from my time of running the UCAN mission in Jamestown, some of my guests that were there were actually working in the food industry, and they were going out and they had learned those skills, some of those skills, obviously not all those skills, in the culinary program. And this is, like I said, been going on even before our current food services manager. Incidentally, both named Rick, but Ricky Eggleston used to be in charge of the food services, and now Rick Held is in charge.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is carried. Proposed resolution 24 is amend 2026 budget for jail, office of the sheriff.
The resolution we have in front of you is to amend our 2026 budget for the jail. We're requesting to increase our appropriations under the equipment category of $18,794 and decrease our appropriations under contractual for $18,794. So it is a budget neutral amendment. This is to cover a replacement of 2 washers that became unusable, and the classification for them is under equipment rather than contractual.
Washing machines
Washing machines, yes, sir.
for clothes.
For clothes.
I mean, they have
10
to wear
grand,
clothes.
or 9 grand a pop.
These are industrial,
Okay.
they're heavy duty. And I John Long, who was our supervisor in the maintenance in the jail, he does a lot of research, and I can comfortably just say John has saved this county, not just thousands, but probably hundreds of thousands of dollars with the work he does and the penny pinching he does, and making sure he gets our quality equipment and warranties, and he follows up on the warranties and hounds the companies to make sure that they're paying and covering their warranties. So,
As the owner of a facility that purchases this type of equipment and being the buyer for that facility, this is within reason, without knowing exactly what the equipment is.
I have no problem saying it. I have heart failure when I see these costs for a washing machine, but
I have heart failure when they quote me.
But I do trust John.
Yeah,
that he's
this
doing
is
the job.
This is in line, absolutely.
And these were also bid out through purchasing. This was the lowest bid.
And, you know, just the rhetoric in the sense of, you know, we've had some equipment from New York State that we bought for our DMVs and computers that are expensive. We had a copier machine for the,
Board of
that was,
Elections.
you know, 15,000, and we had $1 million snowplow at the airport. So $9,000 washing machines. It's yes, yeah. Unfortunately, today that's what things cost. Comments, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? It is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution is Government Reduction Initiative Assistance for Town of Ripley for Development of Multi-Municipality Dog Shelter Facility. I did.
And really, really quickly, to answer the question of how long these contracts have gone on with BOCES, I just looked it up. They started in 2014, so this has been a 12-year arrangement.
The culinary arts. And it skipped a little bit. I remember during some years we had postponed it, and we were thankful it came back.
Yeah, I think during COVID, maybe it fell off for a year or two.
Yep.
There was a funding challenge there, but
This next resolution, there is an amended version that we will be discussing on our desks today.
Good morning, Lori Pless, Ripley Town Supervisor.
I'm Lee Swope, Deputy Supervisor of Ripley.
Lauren Sharp, Senior Planner with the county's Department of Planning and Development.
Thank you for having us here today. This request comes through the Government Reduction Initiative, and we are asking, in order to be in compliance with the New York State mandate for dog sheltering, that this project would develop a regional dog shelter that would service the towns of Ripley, Mina, and Clymer in order to properly shelter our dogs that are coming into the area and be in compliance with the New York State mandates that have been put before us. So basically, we can talk about the budget situations, answer any questions, specific questions you have about it.
Questions?
So you're asking for 67,000?
75, right?
Well,
The copy on our desk says 6750.
yeah.
Oh,
that-
yeah.
That was the amendment.
So the original request came in at 75,000, and at the time, cash match from the 3 municipalities was not confirmed. So at this time, all 3 municipalities have passed resolutions for a cash contribution of $5,000 into the project. The town of Ripley also has some in-kind, their highway department is gonna do some electrical prep work on the site, and then they already actually own the land, within the town, so they don't have to acquire any land there.
When did the state mandate that this be done?
It was actually supposed to be January of '26 that this is supposed to be done. So we currently have created a very temporary shelter to meet the need of our dogs, but it came up pretty quickly, quite honestly.
And with the county funding, we'd be funding roughly 80% of this, which seems disproportionate, I guess, for the county to contribute that much. It might be. It seems odd for the county to do that much for the 3 small towns, which are, not the 3 largest towns in the county, by any means.
And we understand that. We're just also put in a position, with these unfunded mandates, we as a total town operate under a $2 million budget, the entire budget for the town. And so this is, and I know that Ripley or Clymer and Mina are in the similar situation, so for us, this is certainly a financial burden to try and come up with these resources. And we felt because we're doing it as a shared service, it appropriately met what the mission was for this government reduction initiative.
Oh, and I support that.
Yeah.
I'm with Thomas there, unless I've got something wrong. My understanding is that the county's source of revenue, property tax, sales tax, is essentially the same source of revenue that towns have. So we're pulling, roughly speaking, the money's coming from the same kind of people in the end. And so if something's specific to town A, I mean, what's the advantage of funding it at a county level rather than just funding it at town A level? Because the tax burden of that is coming from the same people. Yeah, that's, unless I'm missing something about the taxes, you know. And I know that, you know, in a pinch, the county's got funds to allocate one place or another in a pinch. But, I mean, I don't, when something's specific to a town, or congratulations to 3 towns working together, which would give us a reason to want to support that. You know, we're not, I don't quite get why towns come to the county for stuff that their own taxpayers can pay for.
Well, I don't think it's an issue of not wanting them. I think it's one of these issues of having an unfunded mandate brought down by the state. We did look at some state grant funding, and the first thing that came back was to consider doing an actual study where you would hire the engineer to look at that. And our opinion, quite honestly, with the 3 municipalities was, we know what the dynamics are. We know exactly what it is that's being required of these shelters. To go for a $40,000 or $50,000 study to establish that, I don't know. To me, that seems like you're chasing what, good money after bad or bad money after good, however
You're
they say
absolutely
that.
right.
And so that, and then the concept of, you know, hiring an engineer to do that, and now you're waiting a whole nother year.
Yep.
So then a year from now, let's say the study does prove to be frugal or does prove to be prudent, then you're in a position where now you're another full year out of
Okay.
being in compliance with this. So this was an opportunity for us. We felt that it was worth coming to the county to explore. And
Sure. So, again, I don't mean to be a tightwad about it, but all of what you said makes sense to me. So what if this were a loan from the county as opposed to a grant?
We're not a bank, Fred.
What?
We're not a bank.
Well, I'd rather be a bank than a Santa Claus.
You know, I think the answer to that question, I don't know if the county executive would wish to chip in, because, you know, this was part of his initiative to offer these funds available at what expense? And yes, there is an expense to the county, but where's this arm reach and how are we doing that? So I wish, you know, if the county executive be willing to share a little of that, so.
Certainly. It's interesting, these comments are coming out from the same people that say we have a slush fund, but we need to give more to our towns and municipalities. So in essence, what we're saying in this is, these are the funds we will use, but it has to be a collective effort. How are we reducing government? So right now, they're combining with 3 communities. The county, or excuse me, towns are now feeling the push of state mandates, a 35-page document. Every town and village must abide by this. It's a dog retreat. It's very specific,
Yeah.
very spacious for each dog. And I believe it was also quoted by, Legislator DeJoy. Most towns and villages and cities do not have discretionary funding when the state drops this on them. So in essence, I've listened to what members of this legislature have said in this excess funding. We're giving them funding for a specific purpose, not a blank check, not just we're going to add another percentage of sales tax, but now we're going to give you money that's going to be specifically used on specific projects. If it comes in under budget, I'm sure they will return funding. But that's the perception behind this. It's just interesting that it's what's been asked for, and now we're doing this, and now there's a question as to why are we doing it. We're not just throwing money out there. This is money that they don't otherwise have. They did come up with a match. They have skin in the game, much like any other grant and opportunity. So, again, we looked at what was being asked, and we're doing it now. We're questioning the same ask that you proposed.
Well, and I would agree to that in the sense to say, look, you know, this offer is for all municipalities to come to ask at this table, and you know, and that's the offer we put forth. And yes, it is our parameter to discuss this and ask questions, and also look out for the county funds, in which we've done, and we want to see the skin in the game from the municipalities. And I would hope that the municipalities have put up what they can in whole, but also, you know, they're reservingly, because they're going to experience other expenses moving forward too. So they're going to put forth what they really feel they can, but the county's helping, and that's what we want to contribute in this effort as we can. And this is an area that we can help. You're going to exaggerate other funds when the project starts to take off. And so holding on to a little bit of a piggy bank for some of that stuff is needed as well. So, Mr.
Yeah,
Scott?
I'd just like to say, this is an initiative that we put forward as the county.
Yeah.
So the municipalities, their role in it is to ask us for it. They're not inventing this, we're putting it out there. And personally, like the county executive said, the criticism of our, we'll call it the slush fund, now we're putting it into very productive use. Like these folks this morning are asking for it. I love the fact that we're not doing a study. I mean, that just excites me like you wouldn't believe. I love studies. They're my favorite. So you're here, we've offered it, you're asking for it. Now, we have the choice of giving it to you or not. I understand. I am going to vote in favor of giving it to you. So.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just say, I go to all my town board meetings, and this has been an issue that's been on the rise, I would say, since I've been on the ledge of where do we take these dogs and what do we do with them? And, they've come to me and they've asked, what can the county do? And, the county doesn't necessarily have a dog enforcement officer. But I think this is great. I guess my big question is, how many dogs will this facility hold? And we'll go with that first.
I think I priced it out with, I believe it was 4 for, which normal dogs, and then you have to have one for dangerous or sick dogs, petitioned off and separated from the rest of them. So,
Okay.
5 dogs. And for Ripley, we can speak, if we get 4 dogs a year,
Okay.
it's, and Mina and Clymer are pretty much the same. It might jump to 6 one year, something like that.
Now, would you be open to partnering with other neighboring towns? Like obviously Westfield's up there.
Absolutely. We had reached out to actually several municipalities, but both Clymer and Minor were the ones that came forth interested in doing this. Where it would be, it is on town property, and there could be potential for expansion, actually, if we really needed to do that.
Okay.
As well down the road.
Yeah.
But we would look at it as a source of revenue, quite honestly.
Well, absolutely.
To have other municipalities come in and join us. And currently, all of the municipalities have in their budgets, money to support their code enforcement for
Yeah.
dogs. So that's the money that they would be currently using as well to contribute to everything that you spoke about in terms of maintenance and all of those kinds of things.
Extensive record keeping.
Yes.
All of the dogs have to be seen by vets. So, yeah, the more municipalities we have involved, the cheaper it's gonna be for everybody.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's a great idea. This is obviously an issue that's been needed. What
it's
is
a problem.
what is your expected construction date, or does this all still need to
Well,
go out to bid, I assume?
If we get the grant as quickly as we possibly can, and as we would hope that we move forward, first of all, we know all 3 of us are not in compliance right now.
Yeah.
And we're doing the best that we can. So it's really gonna be dependent on the market and what's out there in terms of who can come and get here and get it built. That's what
Okay.
it's gonna come down to.
And then your year after year costs, I assume, is just general electric, water. Does that stuff exist on site already?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's all there. It's just a matter of restarting it, so to speak.
That's already built into their budget now. They gotta
Yeah,
pay that when they
yeah.
have the
And we
facility.
do that now. We have money in our budget for our code enforcement officer to maintain where the animals are kept, to do her work. So, and for animal control,
Yeah,
not
dog
code
control.
enforcement, dog
I
control.
screwed that up
Yeah.
first, I think. But, but no,
Yeah.
I appreciate your guys' efforts when I saw this. It's a good step forward, and I hope it sets an example for the neighboring, especially South County areas, because, Kyneton and Poland and Frewsburg all take their dogs to Gary, which isn't horrible, but I think it's $35 for a small dog a day
Yeah,
and
it's
$45 for a big dog, and they've got to hold them for 5 days before the Humane Society will even consider taking them, and that's if the Humane Society even has an opening. So
Couldn't
these,
find a place.
well, no, and these dog control officers, are kind of left. Most of them have full-time jobs, and they're kind of left with not much choice but to take them to the highway garage or set them in a police department in a cage and go down there a couple times a day and let them out. And it's costing the town budgets a large amount of money. So at the end of the day, $5,000 might not sound like a lot, but $5,000 doesn't board a dog for very long either. And then you gotta hope you can find the owner, and it's been a huge issue, so I'm happy to see this.
Well, thank you. We are trying very hard to be proactive, so thank you. We appreciate that.
Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, a couple things. First, I have never referred to the fund balance as a slush fund. That being said, I think it was a good idea to set aside this $500,000 for this initiative. And by my calculations, if we do this, almost half that money would be gone. You know, we'd be up to $217,000 of the $500,000. So I worry that it's not leaving enough for other towns or municipalities, and I think we're paying the 80%. I think is just too high. I'd like to see maybe a little more from the towns, and a little less from the county. I know you're strapped. I don't blame you for asking.
The saving grace in this is, like Bob had said, we're not funding a study on this like we did with the 2 last months. We're funding a construction project to get this done, so they're not going to come back to us and ask for another $100,000 next year.
Well,
you know,
I just think, be more proportionate.
Point taken.
I'll suppose I represent the city of Jamestown, so
Okay. Sure.
Fair enough.
we have our own needs and interests too.
And I represent Ripley and love Ripley, so it's not about spend it or don't spend it, but I think what Tom and I are after is kind of a broader discussion that is really not germane to this specific product. As we go about helping towns and villages with county funds, which whether they go through our surplus account or not, they still belong to the taxpayers of the county. How do we want to cut that cake? And, you know, what is an appropriate town share of projects when we're bringing aid and why? Kind of get our heads around that county budget
Once we use
issue.
up the 500,000, let's amend it. If there's more municipalities looking for more things and we agree with them,
Sure, but
let's use more of it.
Yeah, but it goes beyond this, you know, government consolidation initiative. There are other ones too.
Well, and I think that's a conversation we can have for,
Yeah.
later on down the road,
Exactly.
because if you look at the one that Pomfret put in last month, we funded 100% of it.
Well,
And the state's funding the other half.
And I growled about that.
I think the initiative, is, I don't want to put words in the county executive's mouth, but, as I recall from this presentation is it's a start. Counties said, look, we've got $500,000. Let's see what comes to the table. And, in my recollection, if we run out of money, I don't think then it's back to the committee the body to say, well, let's amend that.
Raise it.
Maybe it isn't. What's the end? Well, let's take it to X number. The point is I think, we do need to really consider each and every one, but also it'd be nice to see, this is new. What's the trend going to be? Are we going to spend 500,000 this year? Are we going to spend 300,000? I don't know. I know a couple townships in my districts this last month have reached out in consolidating efforts, and they specifically referred to this particular fund. So I know of another one that has a potential to utilize these funds, and that's great because neither of these townships really have the extra money to curtail some of these projects in consolidation. But at the end of the day, it's going to save those municipalities some great deal of expense. And are we going to have to amend this to 600,000? Are we going to have to? Are we good at 500? I don't know, but also I think I applaud the county executive for creating the initiative, and I think he just drew a number out of his hat. Maybe it was based on some actual information. I don't know. It's at least he started somewhere. So great project, and we're hopeful to help, and I hope that you've also realized this body really puts under scrutiny any money that the county is spending, so just as you are.
Absolutely.
Well, you've got a good project here, but you're in the middle of a broader discussion.
Right, understood.
And congratulations for waiving the studies off.
Agreed.
So just a quick note, the Pomfret request last month that was matching the county funds with state local government reduction fund, or local government efficiency funds, that is a planning action. It requires a 50-50 match.
Right.
If they are to continue in that project and apply to the state for implementation funding, it only requires a 10% match. The grant that Ripley looked into with Ag and Markets for animal shelters for construction projects only requires a 10% match. The planning efforts tend to be a 50-50 match, and in this case, they want to skip the planning effort and just go to construction because they're looking at more of a prefab style building. So when you compare it to other grants at the state level, the state's only requiring a 10% match, just for frame of reference.
That's great information. And congratulations for not doing a study. If I haven't said that 3 times yet.
Even the state incentivizes us not to do studies, is what I'm hearing.
So it takes a village to house a dog.
That's right.
Well, it takes 3.
Right now, we've got a 9-by-14 room built inside of a non-heated building so we can heat it to keep the dog in. And that's where the kids do their summer activities, so we've got to move it before school's out.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next proposed resolution today is number 26, and I assume our very patient person, I'm going to pull his resolutions to the front one day, is to authorize use of lake fund for Cassadaga Lakes weed survey.
Good morning. My name is Dave McCoy. I'm the Chautauqua County Watershed Coordinator.
My name is Bob Ruther. I am the Lakes Manager for the Cassadaga Lakes Association. And thank you for the civic lesson I've been absorbing back there.
You didn't know what you were getting into, did you?
There is a test.
This resolution is about using $5,000 from the county's lake fund to do an annual weed survey on Cassadaga Lake. Much akin to a checkup, you feel good, you go to the doctor anyways, and you get a trained set of eyes to look at your condition. Maybe you've got a problem, maybe you don't. I think it's a good idea because it can save us a lot of money for lake maintenance costs in the future if an undesirable and invasive is discovered in the lake. Chautauqua Lake is a classic example. We have some invasives there that just kill us in terms of lake maintenance costs. So we'd like to avoid that, nip it in the bud, so to speak, before it gets out of control. If I had a handful of hydrilla and a handful of Eurasian milfoil, probably nobody in this room will be able to tell the difference. A trained aquatic biologist could tell you that. Eurasian milfoil is an invasive on a scale of 1 to 10. It's probably a 5. Chautauqua Lake's full of it. We'd still get by, but we have maintenance costs. Hydrilla will explode. It'll outcompete Eurasian milfoil and everything else. It gets to the point quite soon that you can't swim or run a boat. So that reduces the stakeholders' enjoyment of the lake. It also impacts property values and usability of the lake. So that's what we'd like to do.
Thank you. Just very, very briefly, one of the functions of the Cassadaga Lakes Association is to supply all the muskellunge fingerlings for the entire state. There are 2 locations. Cassadaga is one, and there's another location out east. The primary function of the Lake Association, obviously, is to maintain the health of the Cassadaga Lakes, not only for the enjoyment of county residents, but also for the enjoyment of the thousands of tourists that come here. I call them guests that provide an economic boost to our entire county. So by funding this effort, we are trying to be proactive in weed control and making sure that our lakes remain useful and enjoyable for the future. Thank you.
Questions, comments for these gentlemen? Great to get ahead of those weeds.
It's a task.
Yep. So, not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Excellent. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being patient today. We'll be here next month, and if you want to continue your lesson. Number 27 is appropriating funding for the 3% occupancy tax reserve for the National Comedy Center for promotional activities.
Finally, something funny.
That was not.
Hello, thank you for having us. My name is Journey Gunderson. I'm the Executive Director of the National Comedy Center.
Gary Hahn, Vice President of Marketing and Communications for the Comedy Center.
So we appreciate meeting with you today. We're here to provide some context to the resolution that proposes $200,000 for promotional activities. We want to be clear that this funding is not to sustain the Comedy Center. This money will be used for paid media, advertising, and PR in our key drive markets in order to bring new visitors to Chautauqua County. We also wanted to add the context that this helps leverage a proven asset that draws people from largely 95% outside of Chautauqua County into it, and 84% outside of New York State. So when people visit, they spend. We know about Comedy Center visitors that the average spend of each visiting party is $622. For context, our admission ticket is $37. So just think about the amount of impact that's happening outside of our turnstiles while we're executing the campaign to bring the people here. We have also been successful in applying for and securing a New York State Market New York grant. It's a $550,000 Empire State Development investment for this campaign, but it is a 44-56 match program. So we, the Comedy Center, have to spend $700,000 to activate $550,000. And so we also wanted to provide that context. Gary, anything you want to add?
Just that what we've seen in Buffalo, where our awareness is over 60%, is a very high intent to visit and high visitation. We need room to grow. There is room to grow quite a bit in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, which would be the markets we would be devoting the majority of this funds to. And what we know is as we increase awareness, it increases intent to visit, and we will generate significantly more visitors from these two markets over time.
And we're happy to field any questions.
Sure, I have a couple of general questions. I first take the opportunity to say thank you for coming in today. I've actually seen some, over the years, some use of occupancy tax funds for the Comedy Center, but I don't believe that I've ever had the opportunity to have either of you be here presenting about it. So thank you for coming in today. Of the $622 spent, would you say, do you have more of a thorough breakdown, just randomly, are people renting cars? Are they staying, is that hotel expenses? Is it, what are they spending their money on in a sense? And then, do you have what is your position on their use of the airport, if you will?
Oh, okay. Great questions, and thank you. As to the 622, yes, there is a more detailed breakdown, and in that data, we also know that they spend on average 2.3 nights in town, which I know sounds like an odd number, but that's of course across the data, and eat an average of 2 meals.
Yep.
And so that tells you they're spending money in the restaurants and sleeping in the accommodations, whether it's Airbnb or hotels. You asked about the airport. When we produced the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival, just as one example, you may be aware that we have 3 arena headliners this year, so that's a bigger festival than we've ever programmed. And, that's not even always a moneymaker for us. This is something where the surrounding area benefits greatly from just the production of this economic juggernaut of an event weekend. And our headliners frequently fly private into Jamestown Airport. So that's kind of crucial because they're usually doing a weekend of gigs all over the place. And it's hard to, Jamestown isn't exactly routed between a lot of people's gigs. And so it's kind of through a knothole to get that festival booked in the first place. So the airport's really important. And I know that, you know, over various years when there has been service even from Pittsburgh into Jamestown, that tourists used it. So it's pretty important, I think, to the county and to this effort. Certainly we bring in VIPs from coast to coast who want to see the museum or donate their archives, and discreetly often they depend on a private airport, so that's kind of interesting. But by and large, this impact and the use of these funds has to do with being a drive-to destination. You know, the National Comedy Center, as I mentioned, 84% of our visitors come from out of state, which is part of the reason the spend is so high. You know, they're not just taking a day trip and going right back home. They're eating and staying somewhere, which is great, you know, in terms of the economic impact of our visitation. And so the other thing about this money is that it allows us to expand the impact beyond these events like the festival weekend. You know, that probably pushes our hotel capacity to its max, which is great for people who have opened Airbnbs to supplement on those high density weekends. But this effort, this media campaign, is really about bringing people throughout the shoulder seasons, not just during high season, and we're an attraction that stays open year round. Just anecdotally, because I think it helps color this a little bit, in the first quarter of this year, anecdotally, we've booked 3 different bus initiatives that add up to over 1,200 hotel room nights. One is for the 75th anniversary of Isle of Lucy, which is in October, you know, not even during the summer. That'll be 920 room nights. A Christian Tours bus group in November, which is 220 hotel room nights. And then recently I did a speaking engagement in Erie, Pennsylvania about Johnny Carson at an educational institution, and that resulted in a corporate booking of a guy who oversees the entire region of convenience stores, and I won't name it just because, you know, I don't know that it's his prerogative to share. But that resulted in over 100 room nights in Jamestown, New York in February. So there are these pockets of impact that happen that we don't even count really directly when we talk about our annual impact already being about $12.8 million on the local economy. So there should be no doubt in the return on investment when you just look at the exponential impact of what this ad campaign brings in. And in a literal sense, the National Comedy Center is an entity that brings dollars from outside of our geography into it in several categories.
Thank you. Questions?
And maybe if it's written here, or if you've said it, forgive me. What's the annual attendance to the visitors to the?
Sure. So right now we're at 70,000.
70,000.
But we think, you know, all we see is potential for growth.
Yeah.
You know, that could easily and should get up over 100. And
What was it 5 years ago?
let's see, so during the pandemic, let's see, it's 2026 now.
Minus
so
pandemic.
Yeah.
How about the year after?
I know. Yesterday someone said about us being, you know, 7 or 8 years old, and I went, wait. You know, we opened 19 months. We opened at the end of tourism season, August 1st, 2018. And any of our seasonal businesses know that wouldn't be the date you'd pick, right? Because it's so seasonal here. So we opened 19 months before March 2020 and having to shut our doors. I mentioned yesterday that was 2 weeks after being named by USA Today the best new museum in the country. So that presumably would have been this big boom. And then there were, as we've all seen, 2 to 3 years of depression from the pandemic. And a big part of what we do with these media campaigns is go to motor coach conferences. And that industry in particular was slower to come back because you're talking about an elderly population by and large crowding onto a bus together. So that's a big part of any attraction's bread and butter. Last year, in 2025 alone, we attended 17 motor coach conferences. And that's expensive. It's staff time, it's hotels, it's conference fees, it's materials, it's tabling. And especially in that arm of the business, our call sheets, our itineraries are so much built around what else there is to do. You know, no tour operator is coming just for one attraction. And so much of what Gary and his team are doing is talking about what other assets there are here. Someone asked yesterday, so I wanted to address, we work really well with the CCVB and Andrew Nixon. We have a great relationship. And so this is actually about filling gaps that they can't do, or finding efficiencies rather than sending both of our staffs or spending both of our dollars in a duplicate manner. So it kind of just pours gas into the tank of something that can bring more impact. Did I leave anything out?
No, it was great. I would just add that we build formal itineraries for these group tours that does include other attractions, builds in the Harbor Hotel or Doubletree, restaurants. And we do know from our research that over 80% of our visitors eat in restaurants while in town. About 50% visit other attractions. So we have firm data on all of that. But we're believe very strongly that they need to do other things while in town. We even create our own dining guide that we pass out to our visitors as they enter the museum. So.
Mr. Chairman, to your comment on the airport, I'd like to point out that Gary is one of the newest members to the Airport Commission. I think he's 2 months. I think we appointed you
That's
last
right.
month, but the first month you came as a guest. So we do have that input on behalf of the airport from the Comedy Center, just as a note.
Happy to be on that.
Thank you.
Just a comment, I've volunteered at the Comedy Center and I've attended a number of events, and it's always interesting to talk to people and ask them where they're from. And it's amazing from the different places they've been, and not just coming from Erie, Pennsylvania, they're coming from all over the country, sometimes outside of the country. So it's fascinating. So I think this, like you said, this is just an investment, and I think it'll pay dividends in the long run.
Thank you for volunteering. That helps.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
It's one of the advantages of Chautauqua County being out here on the corner, is then when we're asking for state funds for tourism, most of the return of that comes from out-of-state people as opposed to reshuffling in-state dollars. So it's a net gain to the state, and it's always, we're promised almost uniquely as counties in New York have that pitch, and you're a core part of it.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, being the western end there and being 2.5 hours from Cleveland is great. Pittsburgh.
Other questions or comments?
On the finance side, you said of the state's grant, the Comedy Center is funding $700,000 themselves. So is our $200,000 going towards that, or is it $700,000 plus our $200,000?
We would like to use the 200 toward that.
So you guys
to
will have
activate.
$500,000 in, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have 20 months to spend all of the money. And so we'd like to activate at least half of that this year. Yesterday it came up that the sooner these dollars are spent, the more valuable each of the dollars is.
Yep.
For a couple reasons. One, it leads to word of mouth back in the zip codes where these people come from. And because we know that 84.5% of our visitors report being very likely to return. So it can be exponential if we get to them sooner.
Well, and I think we could benefit as well with our air show being next year following just after the comedy festival, which is obviously a teamwork effort to make sure we didn't overlap and take away from you guys. But, I think we could benefit from the advertising on that as well to get that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. Next proposed resolution today is 28. Final resolution is to close capital projects 2025 year-end reconciliation.
Oh, good morning. I think it's still morning. It is. Jennifer Swan, Budget Director. This resolution just formally closes the capital projects that were referenced earlier that were sort of shoring up in preparation for closure. All of these projects have been confirmed completed by the department heads, so we are ready to formally close them.
Looks great. It's always good to clean up the books. We have a couple older projects here on the docket, so it's good to see those finally be closed.
Yes.
One from 2010, so.
Yes.
Good to get rid of that one. Questions, comments?
Yeah, tell me about item number 7 here. Just kidding.
Mr. Chairman, yesterday the budget director kindly offered to put together a list for us of all of the remaining open capital projects with the date that they were initiated.
Yes.
So now that we've taken this great action of closing these projects, it'd be interesting to see the remaining capital projects, especially as you point out, the one with, 16 years ago it was initiated, to see the initiation dates of the remaining open ones.
Yes.
Yeah, agreed. It's something we've been looking at in the last couple of years to try to clean up some of these long-standing projects. So, that list is important to lay our eyes on, and to also, just as we've been putting our finger on some derelict properties to move them along, these these funds also are important to continue to close and close out.
So I noticed that there's, on completion and audit and reconciliation of projects, do we have not on all projects, but a sampling of projects, what I would call a post-audit? We thought the project was going to get X benefits, now we're 3 years down the track. Is it in fact getting what we thought? From a benefit standpoint, not just auditing, did it cost what we thought?
No, there isn't any kind of a formal process in place that I'm aware of, where we actually look back and, essentially establish and compare benchmarks and expectations for those capital projects.
Okay.
Other questions or comments?
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but so, do we do this every year?
Yes.
Well, then why wouldn't those have been closed the year after? Like, why would we have things from 2017 or?
In a lot of cases, it depends on what the project actually is. There are numerous projects that take several years to complete. Some projects that you're going to notice on the list that I send of capital projects that remain open will be open in perpetuity simply because there's an annual need for funding for those particular items. There aren't many of them, I don't think, that, essentially stay open, like I said, in perpetuity. But oftentimes it definitely depends, if a department, so for example, there are a number of IT projects that the sheriff's office undergoes. They have had a server capital project. I don't recall the title specifically, but that project has been open for several years now. We're not talking 10 to 20 years, but it has been open for several years simply because every few years there's a batch of servers that need to be replaced, be they jail servers, be they for the detective bureau servers. I mean, it's just, so they've kept it open because the title is general enough to cover all of those projects. That way we don't have to establish a new project every time they request server replacements. So, it really depends on exactly what the project is for as far as how long it stays open.
Interesting.
Yeah, like let's say the one, the parking lot reconstruction. Why didn't that ever get closed, So that's good questions, but I'm sure there was some reason, and guess what? It's closed. It will be.
Yes.
So great.
Yeah, the vast majority of them do
Yep.
make a lot of sense, to close as soon as the initial round of funding is completed. It's just not, it's not a one-size-fits-all type of case, so.
Other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does move us into our discussion. Typically, we would have taken a break when this is going at some point in time, but I kind of kept the meeting moving. So if you have to use the restrooms or anything, just feel free to step out. We'll kind of continue to keep the meeting rolling. I know there's a meeting that she's left for, but
Hopefully we won't all step out at the same.
we wanted to take, Blake is going to go
People in your jokes.
later because he doesn't have a meeting to get to. And we'll take Ms. Makowski.
Good morning. Debbie Makowski.
Still morning?
It is still morning, yes. Director of Human Resources, Compliance Officer. So just taking the time to review the biannual compliance report. So this report, if you recall, I do these in April and October every year. So this is recapping fourth quarter 2025 and first quarter 2026 so far. So for countywide annual training for fall of 2025, these are the everyone's favorite NeoGov trainings. We had 15 modules, 100% completion. And for this past spring, again, 15 modules. The deadline was March 31st. I want to update where it says that 7 current employees did not complete prior to the deadline. We're down to 3. And we're actively working with the employee and the department head.
And all the legislators completed on time.
Correct. Correct.
Should I stand up?
Take a bow.
No.
I'm
standing
one of the
ovation.
ones on the bad list, usually.
In this latest round of trainings, we do an annual question just to test the effectiveness of our compliance training program. In 2023, the results were 92.4% positive, meaning yes, we feel that our compliance trainings are well done. It dipped a little bit in 2024, but in 2025, those results bounced back up to 90% positive. And specifically to the question, have the training modules provided you with the information needed to properly report a compliance concern? 98% responded yes.
Who gets asked these?
Everyone.
Did I get asked these?
You did.
They're at the end of your training.
No, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure I'm part of the 98%.
Did I skip that questionnaire?
It's literally 2 questions. So it might just.
Because honestly, some of those modules are useful to what I do here. Some of them are actually much more useful to my work at home, like confined spaces, for example.
Correct.
What on earth does that have to do with the legislator?
Correct.
But at the winery, it's something.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where it's this, we're required, but is it appropriate? And if you were to have that conversation with OSHA or PESH, public employees, OSHA essentially, they would say yes, it's mandatory for all employees. Now, keep in mind, all of us have to take the basic for lockout, tagout, for confined spaces, for bloodborne pathogens. If you're working directly, like if you're in buildings and grounds, or you have a higher level of training that you would need to complete as well.
I'd like the harder test next time.
Be careful what you wish for. Okay, so our compliance committee, we're continuing to meet monthly. We have just, we're in the last stages of finalizing the annual risk assessment, and we have begun annual policy reviews. As far as reports on breaches or compliance incidents. We did have 10 that were reported, either a breach or some other violation report. However, every single one of them was related to either an email, either incorrectly sending to someone in an email or faxing to a wrong fax number. We had 9 that were emails, 1 was a fax number, and ultimately everything was destroyed, not read. So these were essentially not actual breaches, but the fact that they're being reported and being investigated, I viewed that as a positive. We had a handful of audits in fourth quarter 25 and first quarter this year. Most are pending results. Our internal Q3 audit came back with some, minor suggested changes, which we have implemented. But the rest are pending results. So our responses have been submitted. We're just waiting for responses on those to wrap it up. And then for 2026, for the second and third quarter focus, obviously we're going to continue with countywide training being 100% complete on time. And then as I stated, we are almost done with the compliance committee work plan. That's that final task of the annual risk assessment, continuing with policy review. And summer 2026 countywide training modules, we're looking at tentatively a May rollout. So in a couple more weeks, we have more that are coming out, and those will have end of June deadline to complete.
Nothing more I'm
Any
looking forward to.
questions?
Questions, comments regarding their compliance report?
Sounds good
Okay.
overall.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in today. Next on the agenda is, hold your seat a minute, Blake. It's not on the agenda, but it was supposed to be, as I asked Carmelo to come in. And Carmelo's been waiting back there patiently, so if I could have Carmelo come up and discuss his, we're going to discuss safety net. You're gonna come up anyway because safety net has been a runaway a budget, and as we've recently had a report come out to let us be aware as legislators where our budget is in our performance report, that safety net is running a little, it's heavy in sense of its proportion through what we budgeted through the year. And as a proactive body, we wish to put our finger on this now, and let's see what the department's doing to help remedy some of these overages, and if any, in what we should be expecting to see this year. And this also will maybe help identify as a budgetary item, this is what are we going to do this coming season with the budget. And this is a time of the year to be discussing that, because budget preparations are going to be commencing here very soon. So it's an opportunity for the committee to maybe research and do a little pre-planning before it is an issue during budget season. I'd hate to see the continual use of general fund balance to be put into this category of a known expense. So without any more introduction, Carmelo, thank you for coming in today, and what have you put together for us?
Carmelo Hernandez, Commissioner of Mental Hygiene and Social Services.
Blake Eric, Director of Administrative Services.
First, you can go first. Okay. Well, Blake has all the numbers. I could speak to the story of what we're doing and what has been done, and I do have some data as of January 1. So as of January 1, we were at 262 cases for safety net. So that's approximately, it was like 300 to almost 350 individuals with the monthly cost of $3,000 a month for each of the cases. With that being said, we have the PASS program, which stands for Public Assistance Shelter Supplement program. So with this program, what we were able to do, in a nutshell, is be able to pay market value rents, to be able to move individuals from emergency housing to affordable, safe housing. Good news is, as of this morning, the number of cases is 198 cases. So we were able to drop down by approximately 24%. That's approximately 64 cases that we were able to save. We were also able to prevent in the first quarter 37 evictions, which also saved money from people coming in. And that gave us a total of, in just the first quarter, $303,000 that we were able to save using the PASS program. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The homeless team is only a team of 6. Something has transpired in, I want to say our county, but across the state for sure, where DSS, we are the crisis. We are the ones that handle the crisis. We are the ones that you come to in needs of an emergency. Something has flip-flopped that we have become the primary housing, which is not where we want to be. It's not where we want to be at all. With that being said, with this new program and also having the 6 members of the homeless team, so it's 6 members for over 300 people, so you can see the ratio where it already lands there. It's the lack of affordable, safe housing. I myself personally was last Friday at one of our hotels doing inspections, and I got to meet some of our participants, and some of them, majority, were ready to move on. And I had case managers with me, and we were looking for housing for a family of 3, and we couldn't find it. Couldn't find it safe. She was willing to look in Jamestown, look in Dunkirk. So what we're finding is the housing stock is where we're struggling, and that's not a you guys or us DSS. That's us as a community. So there's things in the works preliminary. I have a meeting on April 30th. In terms of housing, I'm going to be meeting with some of the nonprofits, the CEOs, just to keep the ball rolling and to keep the momentum. So as of now, yes, we're making a dent in it, but we need a lot more, and that's just me being honest.
You know, and just candidly, I spoke with Carmelo a few months ago and said, look, this is an issue, and housing is our holdup. So I promoted him to be productive in sense of attending things. What are other communities doing, and reaching out into the communities and just being creative around how do we can control our own expenses, or sitting around doing nothing, the housing isn't going to just magically appear, you know. So, you know, what can you know, the department do to help in that assistance and help in the promoting that in space? So I'm thankful that you are trying to be productive in sense of creating those facilities, because in sense that if we can have those spaces, it's a cost savings to the county, and could be a significant one if we could increase that. It's a very steep hill to climb, but you know, that's great work that we're hopefully going to be able to make a difference. And questions from Carmelo or comments?
Has the state ever tried to incentivize? You know, like I'm looking at, you know, your contract. Has the state ever had a program to say, okay, we will give you an incentive to go into some of the, I can think of a dozen old houses in Jamestown that could be, you know, renovated. It would be expensive, but would provide good homes in situations like that. I just wonder if, has there ever been anything like that?
Yeah, there are incentives. So from the federal and state level, there are incentives for landlords for like rehabs. One of the, I don't want to say catch-22, but one of the catches that comes with it is you have to be able to, they'll give you the funding, but you do the rehab, but you have to be able to house it or lease it to someone affordable, and they put the income guidelines and things of that nature. It's about landlords wanting to be in that type of business or wanting to get into it. Applications could be a little lengthy. I know one of the things that we're looking at as the county and as the Department of Social Services is helping landlords and or agencies apply for funding. So in the past, many, many years ago, what I've noticed a big difference that's happening within counties is DSS always background emergency. I'm trying to take a different approach, proactive, and really create the partnership in the sense of, okay, let's say organization wants to do supportive housing. I'm willing to provide staffing from work hours in terms of mental health and care coordination within the facility, but I need your help in terms of running the facility because that's not in the business that we're in. So it's really building those partnerships and really coming at it from a multi-dimensional, multifaceted, multi-agency approach.
Have you developed or identified a need for any additional personnel? As you said, it's looking creatively in sense of how can we actually, if it's a creation of a position, but if that creation of a position helps fill the gap in some of these expenses, the person will pay for themselves or persons, and so, and that's what any help we can get in this is beneficial, and it will inevitably helps those people in the community that need it, the most too. It isn't always necessarily about the dollar, but it's expensive too. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Blake, what are the numbers,
So, yeah, the good news, we have not seen an increase of caseload going back to the second half of last year from this in 2026, the first quarter. So now when you look at potentially 2026 first quarter versus 2025's first quarter, that's where you would see an increase just because, going back to last year, we saw kind of a gradual increase up until July of 2025. So I would say we are on pace for similar numbers to, again, with the short amount of activity, we are on pace to be on par with 2025's numbers, which we ended up with totaling about 14.4 million of appropriations. That's not local share, it's just how much we spent, increased for the appropriation. So, and if you recall, we did budget for 2026, 11 million in appropriations.
So, based on that information, we anticipate that we will probably come up with, we'll be short.
Correct. Yes.
Just short of 4 million, correct?
And then we're going to be short after we added the $2 million?
I believe we only increased it 1 million.
Was it 1 million that we added at budget time?
Correct, yeah.
That's correct. And in anticipation, if the numbers continue to trend as they are, which is likely, we will presumably be 4 million roughly, just rounding up a little, right?
Yep.
Short.
Yeah.
And that's if the numbers continue.
Correct. And we could see a potential decrease, though. I know Carmelo and his team have been working hard and trying to obviously reverse this trend that we have seen.
And the question that, great information. Budget season, what do you project that we should budget for? What should the actual number be? Those are the numbers. How much influence are you going to be able to have and save? And is that data going to be responsive enough for us to be able to implement that into our budget? Or, realistically, can we not include that information? And should we budget, how much should we come up realistically,
Well, fortunately, closer to budget, we will have more information, right? So I do believe more information the better. So now that we have seen a steady number of caseload, remaining within a very slight fluctuation here and there, positive and negatively. So I think really the 9 months of data that we have at our disposal, I think if we add another 3 months on top of that, I think we can safely come in either in June or July with a budget amendment to 2026 budget, and then with that data, accurately have it at least closer to accurate, for 2027.
Sorry, I hear you guys alluding to more or less stable caseloads.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, we're blowing by a budget we added $1 million to by 3 point something, almost $4 million already projected. To what extent is this a caseload issue And to what extent is it a cost per case?
I would say both cost per case, and the reason I would say caseload issue, what I've noticed, the trend is, it gets warmer, it gets nicer, cases start to decrease, on top of the great work that the team is doing. But then as the winter and the colder months come by, we see an increase in cases.
That makes sense. But, so, that would be something to be just to understand, because caseload driven is in turn driven by the economy, by our drug enforcement efforts, by our criminal justice system, a whole bunch of things. That's caseload. But if what's really going on is half the increase is a cost per case, then, well, then there's a whole bunch of different remedies for that.
Yeah, and there's also the qualification. So, for example, when it was at the 262, 64% of that 262 was safety net, which safety net is 75% local share. So it's the pot of money that it's coming from. So that's where it determines the cost by case.
Well, sorry, I meant, for starters, I meant overall cost by
Mhm.
case, and then underneath that is our share of that cost
Mhm.
by case. Right, so, yeah.
Well, and, you know, and we have to provide the service, and that's something that we're gonna have that sense. And, you know, I've always been a proponent of the last few years is asking how, one way we can control the cost and expense of it is by controlling the costs. You know, we have the implementation process of how we're doing it. The state says you just have to do it. It's how we manage it and facilitate it is to control our costs. Now, we're limited, you know, it's got its limits, because where do you put them? At the end of the day, you got 3 people standing there, and you have to put them somewhere, right? You know, and I think that's the boots on the ground to continually work on controlling the costs. You know those hard numbers and where our cost is involved, so let's work on the best we can to control those costs. And, you know, if it's costing us 14 million, how can we get it down to 10 with the same number of people that we're providing the service for? You know, that's how we can save money on it, not necessarily complaining that the state needs to give us more money for it or change the percentage give back, but I don't think the program's going away, and, you know, the trend isn't, you know, we've had this as a roller coaster historically be up and down.
Mm-hmm.
What do you forecast it being in 5 years from now? Yeah, you know, are we gonna be faced with similar numbers? Is it gonna be a trend where it is falling off on its own? Well, if you knew that, you wouldn't be sitting here. So I'm going to guess that, you know, as we have to look at it today we're going to face potential overage in the budget. Let's control our costs how we can, but also budget season, you know, we're using a lot of general fund every year to offset the cost of this, and is that proper? Is that the right use of that general fund? And we've identified, yes, to a certain degree of writing out that curve, but it's no longer a curve if those are the actual numbers over a historical couple-year trend, right? So realistically, it's the body's prerogative to try to follow it as closely as they can, and that would be adding to the budget in a pretty substantial amount. So
I think that's the most important thing we can do is be realistic about it and budget for it.
Yeah.
We've tried in years past to kind of look the other way, and the numbers are the numbers.
Mr. Chairman,
yeah,
I appreciate you having this discussion today. Stepping back from it, and I keep asking myself, if we're anticipating being $3 million over budget this year, what if we spent that money doing something else instead of what we're currently doing? Is there something else we could do? Could we build housing? I mean, I don't know, is there something else we could do to assist in reducing those costs going forward? I mean, Carmelo and his team are doing great with the people side of it, but they have limitations of what they can do. Is there something that the county could do to assist in eliminating or reducing some of those limitations, even if we had to spend $3 million a year to do it?
no, agreed. And that's, you know, that's the sort of information that I really charged Carmelo with over, the last couple of years I've had the conversation. We need to help control those costs, and I agreed.
But is this a social services objective, or should this be an objective for planning? Or for
Agreed.
public facilities, or, for the whole county?
Agreed. In sense of the program is through their agency, that collaboration is completely necessary.
Well, could the county incentivize construction of?
Well, I think that's what
Yeah, that's right.
Pierre just asked. I guess what is the typical time span of a case? And what's the steps in order from a case to start and end? Because I'm very, we just hear homeless and we just think, oh, somebody's sleeping on a bench, so the county's going to pay for them to live in a hotel. And that's kind of, I feel like, what the public has been told. I don't personally know the steps as to how the county gets involved and what we truly pay for.
So the way it works is individual and or family comes in, and I'll use emergency housing as an example. So they come in for emergency housing, they fill out the application, we look into the system to see if they've been with us before or if they've been sanctioned. A sanction means that there was probably something they didn't comply with, whether that be drug and alcohol, missed an appointment, recertification, could have been tons of things.
Yep.
If they're not sanctioned and they need housing, we look to see where we could place them at. And first of all, where there's space and where we can place them at. So as soon as the application is done, the case starts effective immediately right then and there. Now, some cases move a lot faster than others. Some people fall off the program. Some people just say, I don't want to deal with this. Some people say, hey, I'm going to get in, do exactly what I need to do. I need help. When we get them into housing and we house them. So it really depends case by case. But I would say the trend that I've been seeing is a minimum of 6 months. I've seen some move as fast as a month.
Okay.
So it really depends on the motivation and how fast we can get in there and get that engagement going and really get them moving through the continuum.
Okay.
So let me use a specific example in the sense of what Pierre is discussing. It's something that I've often thought of is, JCC currently has a old school in their possession, right? In what form could the county promote a building in that sense to retrofit that to help fill the need for those that space, right? Could the county buy it and retrofit it? They certainly probably could if they wanted to, right? Can the county promote someone and entice them to do that through how and what means, right? There's a potential building there that could be utilized for something like that. How do we get it done? It'll directly affect, hopefully, the costs, right? Now, obviously, how much will it directly affect the cost? Unfortunately, those things need to get paid for, so it's going to be an expense. And but how do we fix it? I hate to have a study get involved. We don't need any darn study, right? But
I do think the asbestos got taken out of that building last year, so there's that going for us.
Those are the collaborative things. Now, what department is best fit for doing this? Your department is the lead on this in the sense that you're the department, but also who else do you collaborate with to get this going or help fix this? And that's the discussion we wanted to have around the table today. And
well, I'm actually going to be meeting with COI, also with STEL, and also with other community partners in the sense with their CEOs. I actually have Elizabeth Lord setting up the meeting now to say, what's your appetite? What do you want to sink your teeth in? I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm willing to help you with the supportive and programming part, but I need your assistance in helping run the facility. Let's identify one, and what do you need? Is it capital? Is it help with the application? Is it staffing? Because and I need stuff from them as well. So let's say like we do get that building in JCC. I would love to get it licensed somewhere, office space for OMH Oasis, where I could have an embedded clinician there, and their clientele, their population is already right there within the facility. So this way we could just kind of weed out the other stuff and get right in there and do the work and hopefully make them successful. That's another piece that it's Housing is one, but it's the continuum. I will say this. We need emergency housing. That's not hotels. I'll be 100% honest. We need supportive housing because not a lot of our folks, like Sheriff Catron was saying, need their handheld and they need that extra assistance. And then we need affordable housing. So it is a multi-level step, but we do need to start somewhere. I'll be honest, hotels, we use them because we have to. We would like not to.
I think the community would like for us not to as well. I think that's been a firm voice from within, but.
Does safety net provide anything else, like clothing or anything?
No.
Any other needs that, like, we have this family that goes into?
No, all of those things is basically through other programming efforts. Like, so for example, like we have SMI dollars from OMH, so we utilize those. We also have the social care network. That's another route that we utilize for those things. Sometimes there is APS. They typically have some funding from the feds as well that we could utilize. So we basically do a lot of braided funding to help out with those things.
So those needs are being met, or just
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. More background on that. So, safety net is one thing. What if a client comes to you and, okay, you're looking at housing? What other programs are available? Aid to families with dependent children, what we used to call welfare.
TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, that's another one. So it really depends how long they've utilized the services.
So who qualifies these? So somebody you find somebody or somebody walks in. How do you go about determining whether they're qualified to receive those services or not? Who does that? Is that your department?
Yes. So the case managers do that. So they go through their budget. They also go through their history. Because let's say if you've been in with the Department of Social Services for over 5 years, you're not going to qualify for certain programming. So you're going to fall under the safety net. Let's say if you've been deemed physically unable to work and or go to school, you'll probably fall into that category. So it really depends on the application, the budget, and also how long they've been a part of the social service world. We have some individuals, believe it or not, that because they do have a source of income, they are in emergency housing and they have a portion that they have to pay as well.
Well, that was kind of where, in separate, is what's your portfolio customers look like? I mean, how many of them are drug problems? How many of them are inability to earn money problems? How many of them are just short-term fixable problems? What does that look like?
Well, I don't have the exact numbers, but I can tell you it's substance use, mental health, chronic homelessness, probably have couch surfed a lot, and I would say some probation, some parolees as well. It's the number in short, quick, and fixable, let's say, it's not as high as the rest. That I can say. It's a population that it's going to take maybe 3 to 6 sessions of just engagement, just having conversations to create that buy-in to get them to the next step. I have a lot of people that are coming today and fill out the application and miss their first appointment and fall right off. That it happens all the time, or not make their drug and alcohol that they have to go to. Everybody has to do it.
Mm-hmm. So this is a symptom of our culture, if you like. In many respects, it's mostly not people out on their luck. It is some.
Oh, it's multifaceted, multi-layered, most definitely.
Some intrinsic things.
Who have you collaborated with as far as other county departments to help rectify or remedy this, or come up with solutions, or warrant the help of or assistance of? Have you collaborated with other departments to?
Mental hygiene. Well, it's been mental hygiene and social services the whole way through. Well, the sheriff as well. The sheriff has come out on and done wellness checks with us as well, and law enforcement. Probation as well has come out. So,
and I mean, even our industrial development agency or community partners, in the sense of the business atmosphere too, to help maybe entice those businesses to want to invest in our area for community housing, and maybe maybe they have some maybe they have a feeler of some clients that could potentially, you know, just share that need, or also, you know, that ability. It's, you know, have you had any contact with that, you know, that line of things?
I met with the IDA, and we did have conversations.
Yes.
About the need, the land bank as well, what's available. I met with the city of Jamestown mayor. I met with Crick. We spoke about HCR funding, which is federal funding as well. So I have worked with the nonprofits, and now it's sitting down with OTDA, with the balanced state. We have that as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces. Some of them are slower than others.
Yeah.
Some of them are faster than others. But after this conversation I'm having here, and I'm hearing from you guys, it makes it that much more empowering for me when I sit down with the CEOs and say, I need to know exactly what it is you need, and I don't need the fluff. What do you need to be successful, and how can you help?
Well, and I don't mean to speak for a body or county government, but in a sense, the county and government's enthused to, you know, how can we help and how can we be a part of this too, in the sense that, you know, we want to make sure the program's correct and right, and how can we economically assist and feasibly help control our costs in this too. So it's, you know, beneficial in multiple ways. But.
So what extent is this the breakdown of family structures? And I mean, my anecdote is I've worked in and out of San Francisco for, you know, multiple decades, and my daughter lives there. When you walk around San Francisco, you see homeless people on the street. They are white, African American, maybe a few Hispanic, Native American looking, and absolutely no Asian Americans. And there's a big Chinatown in San Francisco. But their family structures, again, 90%, take care of their own. What? Is it these people we're finding who we're having to pick up just don't have any extended family that'll look after them? Or does that enter into the conversation? How's that?
Oh, that is a part of the application process. Do you have anywhere to stay? Do you have any family? Where were you staying at before? So it's a real extensive application. Unfortunately, some of our folks do end up burning some bridges, and family dynamics end up being what they are. Some folks don't want to reach out to their family. I literally was working with a client on 2 days ago with the sheriff, and she said, I don't want to go with my mom because that's where I was using and I don't want to use anymore. So I'm actually better off going somewhere else to stay away from that environment. So these are the stories that come in.
Yeah.
Is there funding? I know we talked 2 years ago when we took the tour of all the county office buildings and had that kind of conversation of consolidating and comparing to Dunkirk's location with probation and mental health in the same building. Is there grants between CARTS, CHQ Transit, to get people to these appointments, to incentivize them not to miss and keep them on track?
We do the medical transport as well. Sometimes what we do with the homeless team, a lot of the stuff that we could do on site, applications research, we go and we do it on site, keep them notified, and also we transport them ourselves to some of these appointments. Some are a little harder to catch than others, but we haven't been 100% successful, but we've been able to avoid some of the pitfalls. But as far as grants for CHQ Transit, off the top of my head, I don't know. I haven't seen any, but I have heard from participants state, I have no idea how CHQ Transit works, and I don't know where to pick up the bus or what to do. So it's just a lot of just education.
For sure. I think that's an important role that should be brought in on the conversation, as obviously we invest a lot into the CHQ Transit system and work year after year to improve it and serve the people better. And I mean, it's obviously kind of the idea of why we've stayed in Jamestown, I think, besides other variable movements, but you know, it's the hub, and that's where we should be to serve those people best. And I think they should be a part of it, since the hub is right across from City Hall, and you can kill two birds with one stone in that building.
Absolutely.
You know, hard question in sense. You know, the body here has brought up a lot of great conversation. Let's not have the same conversation next year or 5 years from now. Realistically, is this something that you can get into, like
your current workload, right? This is something, and do you have the people to help distribute or that you can distribute some of these tasks to run down some of these examples we're given, or, you know, realistically, how, you know, can we get the work done that could potentially save, you know, help with this program and savings and stuff? And
I'll say realistically, I would say from the conversation today, realistically would be the quickest would be emergency housing. The one that'd take the longest, but it'll be the biggest bang for the buck, and more sustainable will be affordable and supportive housing, and that's through an application called ESHI, Empire State Housing Initiative, and that goes through OMH. That application is a longer application. However, you could get a bigger bang for your buck in the sense of how many units. So instead of getting like a 10-unit, 12-unit, you can go big and say we're going to go for 50 or 60 units, and that's where you're really going to start seeing some return on investment there. And for that, I would most definitely highly recommend and advocate for having services on site in the facility. This way they could be sustainable and be kept. That's the route. So could we do it? Yes, most definitely. And I'll know more April 30th. So if you bring me back for another conversation, I'll have more answers in the sense of, hey, do I need an extra body or two on my end, or did I do a good job at selling the buy-in of how this is beneficial for the entire community, and get the buy-in from community partners and say, let's go execute and let's go get something done.
So, and I think will warrant that open conversation to say, look, let's, you know, we want to keep running down this avenue, and we want to do it effectively.
Yeah.
And you know, if that's a need, or you know, something, that's a conversation that we would warrant to have, to say, yes, we can see the need for the extra manpower, or you know, pound salt, we think you can do it with what you have, you know, so that, bring that to us, you know, that's the conversation we want to generate out of this, to actually see some results. So
I guess one thing I would ask, you know, one thing I think to reduce homelessness is to prevent it. What are we doing, what steps are we taking to prevent it, so someone doesn't, I don't know, lose their home, lose their apartment, lose, you know, something we can do there? Is that, or what is being done, or?
It depends how fast they get to us. So I'll give you an example. So the 37 families that we were able to prevent homelessness using the PASS program, they got to us in time, or we were able to catch them in time. Right. So we were able to prevent it. Well, we knew what to do. We had it all figured out. Unfortunately, what ends up happening, and this is more strategic, is by the time they get into the DSS doors, almost every other door has been closed, or it's the like we're there for the crisis.
Yeah. I mean, it's a problem where you have to manage. You're never going to solve it. You know, like you said, we're going to be talking about this 5 years from now, probably, or maybe somebody else will, but probably. But can we manage it better?
Well, it's going to get worse. I mean,
I hope not.
well, I mean, God bless you, you're at the, you know, right down at the coalface, but I mean, in your line of work, there's a book that came out a little while ago by this guy Harari, and it's called The Useless Class, and it's about looking forward now, continued automation, you know, jobs are higher and higher tech, plus AI automation, and, you know, just the life management skills and cognitive skills and physical fitness skills necessary to be a productive member of society. That bar keeps coming up. And I see it in my workforce. I see applicants come all the time, and I go, if I had to, I might pay this guy to stay away. And so this is going to continue to come at us as the average capital cost per job as we develop productivity goes up and up and up and up. I mean, in the old days, we were 40% agriculture, so if you had a family member who was a problem, well, he got sent back to the farm and he milked cows. In the old days, we had Gowanda sanatoriums, where people with mental, not urgent, well, I could be housed and treated. You go to Gowanda now and they're abandoned buildings. and they were deemed, I guess, a Supreme Court case that if they're not an imminent harm to themselves or society, they can't be institutionalized. So, you know, these kind of things have come at us, plus, you know, the the war against drugs. And to the extent we as a county can come at this, you know, with every resource we got, because, you know, out here on Appalachia, we're kind of at the front. Well, I guess big urban areas have it worse, but I don't know, do the big urban areas have it worse?
Honestly, I could say this because I was born and raised in New York City, I would say pound for pound, urban areas would say that they have it worse, but pound for pound, everyone does. Every county, from the smallest county to the biggest county, is dealing with almost everything you said, bail reform, dealing with a lot of our institutions for our severely mentally ill and intellectually disabled being closed and being treated in the community. Substance use, I mean, fentanyl, drug crisis. We just came out of a pandemic, so all those things play a huge role. So I would say pound for pound, yeah. I mean, so for example, I'll use New York City. New York City has a team of probably over 150 to 200, but they have 5,000 homeless. We were not too long ago at 260 cases, which is close to 400 people, and there was 6 of us.
And you know, and I want to just alliterate the language of the conversation today, and at least for myself, you know, in no way are we questioning the work that is done or has been done, or you know, funds that are spent. You know, simply we want to collaborate in how we can do this better, and what tools you need necessary, or you know, what other strategies. You know, this is a strategy meeting in sense of we're working together as a game plan, and how can we help you? You know, so take it as that, as we're offering help of some sort. You know,
absolutely,
and however, and also you know, rubbing your back, if you will, to say you know, good job here, let's keep going. You know, so.
Oh no, absolutely. The way I look at it is an opportunity to, one, for you guys to ask great questions, for us to let you know what is being done, and for me, I always look at it as you're as good as your last at bat. So there's still a lot more to do. There's still a lot more. Unfortunately, a couple of members of my homeless team did get promoted to other positions, so we're going to be refilling their positions, and they're moving on to different sectors, still working with the same population, but from a different juncture. But it's they earned it. But you're absolutely right, and this is where I'm grateful for being here and having this dialogue, because now it just, like I said, it gives me the opportunity to speak to the CEOs and speak very frank.
Any other questions or comments for Carmelo?
Yeah. I hate the expense, but God bless you for the work you're doing.
No problem.
Pierre, you're satisfied?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming in today and sitting here waiting for us too. And you know, you alluded to have you back. Reach out. I have information. I need 5 minutes at the end of the meeting to discuss it.
Absolutely.
And we'll have you back for certain. We want to keep this open dialogue, and thank you. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blake, if you want to stay up there, and I didn't mean to allude to you earlier to sit back down, but I know you have been very
I got nowhere else to be.
Yeah, you've been very dedicated to the safety
Yes.
budget, and always have been the bearer of bad news. So I hope that through this collaboration, you can be a bearer of good news at some point in time.
Yes, I hope as well, and come budget time, I hope we can go forward with that. But so Blake here, Director of Administrative Services, here to talk about the overview of ARPA as current as of the end of March of 2026, a couple weeks ago. And as you can see, there's a front and back of this page here, and we started with 93 projects, and we are currently down to 11. So if you flip it to the back, and as you can see in the far right column, we have, this is what has been awarded / obligated as of 12/31/2024, so we met that deadline. So then if we move one over to the left, is that 725,377. That is what is left remaining to be spent of that. And that's is compiled of the 11 remaining projects. I have talked to really everyone that has been responsible of these, and they are progressing. Definitely not as fast as I would have liked, but I've been trying to give everyone a deadline of the end of September of this year. I foresee really a couple of these actually being completed before then. But realistically, I've been telling everyone to get it expended by the end of September. Now, we do have it technically essentially the end of this year, 12/31, to expend that, but I'm trying to, in my opinion, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to expend all of this by the end of September.
Obviously, there's some big ones on here, Blake,
Couple,
like,
yeah.
you know, and some have spent zero of it, some have spent
Yes.
some, you know, like Trish, how's she doing? She's
Yep, she's
talked
with
about peer
UPMC,
support.
and that she's also expressed that September deadline as well. So, and they have no problem with that. They're just working out. I have found in this process, there's a few vendors and other logistics that they almost don't want to get paid at times. As much, I feel like we want to pay you, and there's certain times where they want to wait to get paid for various reasons. I don't know necessarily, you know, why, but I have expressed everyone that, you know, this has to be, you know, expensed by, you know.
So
end of
she
year.
feels that that's gonna be
Yeah,
expensed.
no problem, and I can, you know, I've talked to her last month, and I know she's working on it. Same thing with her critical incident stress management training, same
Okay.
thing with that, so she's working on that end.
How about the jail, the server replacements with the IT and the sheriff's
Yep,
department?
that's a capital project, and that's been in progress for over a year now, so they are working on completing that and getting that expensed out.
Any other ones anyone has questions about, the dams? I mean, there's 100,000, are they gonna spend that? Is that
Yes.
leftover?
Yeah,
So-
that should be taken care of this spring, I believe.
That's one dam that the contractor couldn't get into last
Yeah.
fall because of conditions, but he is committed to complete it this spring.
Great. Anyone have any other questions about any specific ones, or?
So what's the difference between if it's completed or it's closed?
Not really any difference. I just logistically, for me, like if you look at ARPA number 1, that is completed, but that was just closed once. Well, technically, it will be closed once we pass the resolution. So that's really all it is. They're one and the same essentially.
What are our unfunded spends as of this point currently?
The unspent is the 7.
Unspent, unobligated as well. Do we
Oh,
have
no,
any-
everything's obligated.
So everything's been obligated?
Yes.
We have no little bit of,
No.
anything kicking around?
No. That ship has sailed,
Okay.
because everything had to be obligated by the end of 2024. So we've met that part of it. It's really the 725,377 that is the remaining to be expensed.
We'll have a little interest earnings on it.
Yes, exactly. We're still getting, again, it's not much. The interest rate has gone down, I've noticed, but as of to date, I want to say we're a little under 35,000 of interest earned that we haven't spent or allocated to other projects that we have in the past. So
we have a little bit
A
of
little
a
bit,
balance,
yeah, of
about
interest, yeah.
35,000.
Yeah.
I have a couple of projects in mind.
Well,
but
you know.
may bring those to the table at some point,
Yeah.
so I've been looking for some funds.
But, if you're correct, Mr. Chairman, we've got almost 2,500, we'll have $25 million that came in as federal stimulus.
Correct, yep.
And it looks to me like a lot of it is, I mean, net benefit to the county. It's not covering anything. It's stuff that over the years we would have had to pay anyway at some point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a, in many ways, maybe amortized over 5 years, but
Mhm.
or more. That's a pretty big windfall relative to our discretionary budget.
Yeah, and the ARPA committee, I thought, did a phenomenal job of discussing projects. You know, I came in kind of towards the second half of when, as you know, since I came in 2023. So this funding was well on its way, but from what I experienced, they did a phenomenal job discussing really how, what's the best bang for this buck, and how can the county and the people benefit from it. So.
But I guess what I'm saying is, you know, go forward budgeting, you know, as these pieces of equipment age out, depreciate, we're either gonna have to step our consumption back to what it was before ARPA, or we're gonna have to budget the replacement of all this stuff as it ages out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you know, we've created this, we've done this. So we're either gonna have to go back to where we were before, or we're gonna have to fund this in the style to which we have become accustomed, or someplace in between.
I guess time will tell on that.
Time and money.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments for Blake today on this, regarding this account or report?
Looks good.
Not hearing any. Thank you for your work
Yeah,
on this.
of course.
And,
Great sheet.
We'll
Thank you.
enthuse you to be persistent, in which I know you will.
Yes.
In making sure those people spend it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything that they wish to bring into the order of business today?
Mr. Chairman, I have a late proposed resolution for your consideration.
Sure.
It's going from funny to I'm leaving. And that's not picking on you, but I vote yes.
Pierre Chagnon, Chairman of the Legislature. So this relates to the last public sewer project around Chautauqua Lake. This is the section between Midway State Park and through Point Chautauqua. We approved this project last year. We applied for and were successful in receiving funding. So we're now trying to aggressively push this forward to get it into design and then ultimately into construction. So one of the steps in the process is, now that we have funding and we can anticipate the cost per user, we have to apply to the New York State Office of the State Controller for permission to proceed with the project. So this took a while to put together. This is a 41-page application. What we're looking for is the legislature to approve the submittal of the application to the State Controller.
Questions, comments regarding?
Do you have a breakdown, the expected cost to each user?
The expected cost will, as we put in the public hearing that was held, it will not exceed $1,282 per year. And our hope is that we will receive additional funding that we have applied for and will continue to apply for to bring that number down even further. But to proceed at this point, we need the permission of the State Controller.
You haven't had much pushback? As far as I recall, it's been pretty good about, people are excited about this coming through and are willing to hook up, in a sense.
People are very excited about getting this going. There are housing associations that have cooperative facilities that they're very interested in getting out of the maintenance and operation of and connecting to a public sewer.
Good.
And incidentally, removing those outfalls from Chautauqua Lake.
Other questions or comments before we put to a vote?
Thank you for bringing this late to committee and not to the legislature meeting.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that.
And if we need to refresh our memories, we can get our mitts on this application?
It will be available at the legislature meeting if you would like to see it, yes.
Okay. Otherwise, we're taking it on trust and going ahead and voting today.
Yes.
Okay, I trust you.
Thank you.
This is the third time he's done this. I trust Pierre.
I don't often say that.
Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other business before the committee today? Want a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
In a second? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Caballeros.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you for being here.
Let me turn that upside down.